We're live on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube. The YouTubery.
Endless YouTubery.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Welcome back to the show. It's This List Sucks. Oh, let's say it together. 1, 2, 3. It's This List Sucks.
I'm Mike.
I'm JB.
Today, we got to welcome a special guest.
Yes.
This is part 2 of the 3. This is like the part 2 of the trilogy of guests. I mean, it's going to be way more than that because your pops is coming on, and then after that, Bryce is coming on.
That. Yeah,
I know. It's just
in a row. Yeah,
it's just turned into a mass fuckery of guests.
Yeah, it's just incestuous, and I love it.
I'm not gonna piggyback on the comment about you loving incestuous things.
I'll piggyback on my own comment, but that's okay. Mr. Riley Raff tonight. Thank you for joining us, Riley.
What's up?
Yeah, Riley's a good friend of mine and a new friend of Mike's,
Mm-hmm.
and he's joining us tonight for the podcast. He was very specific about this sequence of records because he loves one particular record on this, and I think more than one, right? But one in particular was like the real driving reason.
Pixies are probably my favorite band. Surfer Rose is definitely like a top 10 record for me.
Yeah, hell yeah. So
that's awesome.
And that's our first record for tonight. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we're happy to have you here. Thanks for joining. And
it'll be fun to dig into that. Did you? So it was Friday today, but I was late. I was late in my homework, and so I
was surprised you texted me last night, and you were still doing one of the main.
Yeah, I know. I figured that you would be a little bit surprised because normally I'm not that lackadaisical in my preparation, but part of my preparation this week was that I'm super familiar with the Justin Timberlake album, and so I thought to myself, well, that's not that big of a deal, and I can sneak in some notes on that later because I'm really familiar with it. But I didn't get a chance to look at any new music. Did anything good come out today?
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
Fuck off, really?
Well,
are you being serious? Or are you fucking with me?
We're both Fish fans.
Fuck! Oh, God damn it! I haven't. So I've heard 3 tracks from Paige's new solo record that came out.
Yeah,
we might just be visitors. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Here, I'll look it up to tell. It's something like that to that effect. But so for those who don't know, that's the keyboard player for Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Is Paige McConnell. He released a new record today called Maybe We're the Visitors.
Maybe we're.
And I listened to the entire thing. Did you listen to the whole? You listened to a couple from it.
So, yeah, because they were playing it. They were doing an early preview yesterday on Fish Radio on Sirius XM, and so after I had picked up Victoria from school, we were driving around, and it's funny because Tori is my youngest daughter. She is 10, going to be 11 in a few months, and she's a fucking 10-year-old girl, so she's just a chatterbox, right? You get her in the car, and she's like, "Dad, the most amazing thing to me happened at school." And Finkerton is talking to Paige, so they're doing interviews between each one of the songs. And so I'm trying to give the appearance that I care about what's happening at 4th grade at a Catholic school. But really what I'm trying to do is fucking listen to Paige McConnell's answers because, no offense, honey, I love you to death, but it was more intriguing to me than the drama of 4th grade. And so
when she listens to this in 30 years or whatever,
she's going to be so pissed if she ever listens to this.
Get an angry text.
I know.
If we're even texting it.
If we're right, because it could just be this weird telepathy because we all have chips in our brains from the COVID vaccine.
I got mine.
I know. I got mine too. So I'm excited about that chipdom. But at any rate, I think I heard the last 3 songs on the record. Kinda.
Yeah, you didn't really get it.
I'm gonna say kinda.
It's basically like ambient music.
Yeah,
it's very like Brian Eno-ish, because he's the biggest ambient guy that he's not really like super comparable to his particular style of ambient music. But
sure,
it's all like heavily synth based. There's, obviously it's all mostly keyboards. There's a little bit of like tribal drumming in there, and
was that drum machine drumming?
Some of it sounds like real recorded drums, but these days you can't tell.
Yeah, you can't tell.
They have such good sampling that who knows what it is.
Did you dig it?
I did. Yeah, it's really good for like if you're into the ambient thing.
I like ambient music a lot.
I had it on while I was kind of like cleaning my kitchen and stuff like that. So it's good too. It's a great background thing. You know, if you were, for me, I can't listen to music when I do anything else at all. Like I envy the people that, like I hear people all the time like, oh, I love to listen to instrumental music when I'm reading or studying something or whatever. I'm like, that is so far from doable to me.
Yeah.
I can't do that at all. It's going to take my entire attention. You know?
If I'm especially if I'm reading,
Yeah.
I really prefer to be in a place with almost pure silence
or working even like I used to, like when I was younger, I could work and listen to music, but like I mean, obviously music is my job now, but I couldn't do any kind of like busy work kind of thing.
I was gonna say, is that hard for you? Like when you're giving music lessons, you're like, will you fucking stop playing? I'm trying to work.
No, but I can't do anything of value while listening to music.
Everybody
that's not related to the music.
Everybody that's listening to this show, if you're a student of JB's, at your next lesson, when JB has you playing something during the lesson, I want you to stop right in the middle of playing something and then look at him and say, excuse me, is this music bothering me?
I'll have you know, you motherfucker, by the way, that I had like at least 2 people ask me to learn Taylor or Justin Bieber songs or something after you fucking implored that the other day.
I love all of you so much. Thank you so much. I love all of you so much. Classy.
So yeah, I listened to that today. One of my buddies, Shane, who's actually he's a friend of the podcast, so he's probably going to listen tomorrow morning. Is when he listens mostly, I think. He sent me a new single by Anderson East. You familiar with him at all?
No.
So let me kind of look up like how you would describe this guy.
Please do.
Anderson East. So I'm just pulling up the Wikipedia page.
Oh fuck.
But
Taylor Swift, by the way,
she did she did
her Fearless, her Taylor's version. So she's re-recording all of her old music because some dickhead owns all the rights to it, and she wants to own the rights to her new music. Brockhampton too. Wow, Brockhampton.
But Anderson East is kind of like a rootsy soul guy, kind of bluesy. But he released a new single today. It wasn't a new record, but it's good. It's super cool. It has a really cool like dubby bass line. It's like dubby bass plus like soul music.
Nice. I like it. Listen, plenty of stuff if you're out there, right? If you're out there and if you're looking for new stuff, I'm definitely going to check out Brockhampton. They haven't released shit in a really long time, and they might be the greatest boy band on the planet. Self-proclaimed, of course. And I might even check out Fearless. Just because I like to support I love the idea
I looked
of what
it up.
Taylor
It wasn't
Swift
on Spotify because I was going to listen to it.
It was on there when I was.
It was. There was like a playlist for it, but like the Taylor version of Fearless wasn't on there. Yeah, there's like a playlist, but the album is not up yet. And the playlist was like 4 hours long, so that can't be what it was.
Fucking Spotify.
Seriously.
So Riley, what do you musically for everybody that doesn't know you, what would you say? I mean, obviously Pixies Surfer Rosa is a huge album for you. What would give me 3 of your other top 10?
I mean, I guess I'm pretty similar to you guys. I like Fish. I like Grateful Dead. I played piano since 3rd grade, so I like any piano song.
Really?
Riley taught me a lot of early piano education.
Man, he taught JB. He couldn't give piano lessons if I didn't teach him how to play piano.
That's fucking rad. Do you still play?
Kinda. I mean, I don't really like play seriously, but I'll pick out a song and just get the sheet music and play through it.
That's awesome. So Victoria, like we've been doing piano lessons with Victoria now for a year, and she desperately wants to quit, and I'm just like, fuck you. You're gonna learn how to play. I know.
As a music teacher,
I know.
Make her stick with it. They all go through that age. And,
I know.
And it's always a different age. For some people, it's like 7. How old is she? 10?
She's 10, yeah.
So for some people, it's like as young as 7. Like they just don't want to stick with it. And some people, it's like mid-teenager when they start like hanging out with their friends a bunch and like driving and shit. But like if you make them stick with it, it's always good, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm with you. And I've told her multiple times. I said, I don't care if you want to learn. I want you to learn. Therefore, you are going to learn
Yeah.
how to play the piano.
She'll be glad you did that. I quit when I was in high school because I got a job, and I regret that. I should have kept doing piano lessons.
Were you doing like pop music on piano? Were you doing classical? Were you doing jazz?
Mostly classical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm super jealous of jazz pianists. Like a really good jazz pianist fucking blows my mind. Blows my mind.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, so
music theory. Yeah.
yeah, so all right, so Fish, Grateful Dead, Jambani type stuff, and then obviously alternative music and bullshit
Yeah.
like that.
Clash, Pixies, stuff like that.
Nice.
Ramones too, right? Or no, you were talking
like
about
the
mainly
Ramones.
Clash. Yeah.
I love the Ramones now. I didn't when I was I didn't earlier, but now I'm just so addicted to the Ramones. I was listening to them on the way over actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming up. Yeah.
Super hooked on them. Yeah. We're gonna
I think I
get
did
to
kind of
Ramones
get
next
you
week.
into Fish in the Dead, right?
Well, yeah.
Awesome.
Take credit for that.
Holla.
I don't
Yeah.
no shame.
Absolutely take credit for it. Okay,
Yeah.
so did you listen to Page's new album today?
I
Didn't even know about
I
it?
didn't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like Fish at all. I mean, it's like
No.
it's like if there's any Fish nerds at all listening to this, which maybe there is, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like what's the use? But like that's the entire thing.
The whole thing.
But like
Yeah.
without the guitar. You know?
So Riley, are you gonna go to Deer Creek with us?
What's Deer Creek?
Yes.
It's a Fish
okay,
show.
good. That's good.
Yeah, I would love to see a Fish show.
Yeah.
Wait, you've never seen Fish?
He's never
I've never seen Fish. That's like one of the
What
things
are
I
you
maybe it
wanna
was
do.
like
doing?
2 years ago that he was like, yeah, dude, I like, because there's maybe like a 5-year period where I was kind of trying to get Riley into Fish and he was like not loving it. But well, maybe he just hadn't really listened too much. But then once he started listening, he got into it and he's like, yeah, I'd love to go to a Fish show. And then COVID happened. So
Okay.
COVID.
We'll fix that. We'll fix that.
I definitely
I
want
mean,
to go to a Fish show.
Assuming that Fish starts touring again.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I would be so sad.
What's
if I
that
never
supposed to
got see
be?
Fish.
I'm so, dude. Okay, so I had tickets, and everybody listen. Like this will be the end of a bullshit, and then we'll get into the fucking show
okay.
because otherwise we're just gonna bullshit all night. So I just got an email from Ticketmaster fucking yesterday because I have what the fuck do they call it at Alpine underneath the fucking
The pavilion.
yeah. So I have pavilion seats. That was originally, it was supposed to be last year for Rage Against the Machine and Run the Jewels at Alpine.
That would be
Postponed, huh?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Right? Fucking right?
I think you should probably keep those. tickets,
Totally
dude.
ridiculous. So I just got an email 2 days ago because originally last year they postponed it to this year. Fucking now, July 9th, 2022.
Yeah.
And I have until May 8th to request a refund. And there's a part
Keep
of me.
'em,
I
dude.
know. Yeah.
How many tickets do you have?
I got 4. I know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Because originally it was going to be me and Genevieve because Jen loves Rage Against the Machine. She fucking loves Run the Jewels. And then I was going to take Aiden and Mikey because Aiden and Mikey, my 2 oldest kids, had never seen Run the Jewels. But Mike is getting ready to move to Texas and Aiden's already in Portland. And so, yeah. I am going to keep
I like
them.
Rage Against the Machine.
I know you do. Listen, we'll fucking figure it out. But there's a part of me that I'm wondering, am I just gonna fucking continue to give them my $680 and next year they're gonna come back and they're gonna be like, oh, the show's canceled. Never mind. Fuck it.
I feel like there's no way that happens. I think
Really?
that this is the final postponement. I think it's going to go on. I think that shit happens this fall.
I hope so.
And I think some stuff will even happen late summer. I think it's just going to be this year is going to be a division between bands. Some bands will do stuff this year, I feel like, and some bands won't.
I think our Humphreys tickets are fucking money. I think Humphreys is here. I think they do the Nightfall
For
on the
Des
River
Moines fans,
for
yeah.
Des Moines fans because they were supposed to play last year at Nightfall on the River. I feel really good about that show. I feel really good about J-Rad up at the Sylvie in Madison.
Yep.
Like we got tickets to those and I think those are good. I don't know. I don't have a fucking good feeling at all now that I've gotten this goddamn email from Rage Against the Machine.
But again, though, I think it goes back to that's probably the bands. They were probably like, hey, we're kind of reading the way the wind's
tea
blowing here,
leaves,
and we
yeah.
want to postpone in advance because it might even have been like they didn't think as many people would come or something like that.
Yeah. I'm so worried that the boys are gonna.
It could be that.
It's gonna. We'll know. We'll
If it
know
happens,
really
we'll keep
soon
the tickets
what the
and
fuck's
we'll
gonna
go
happen.
the next year. You know.
Yes. And with Fish, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
unless they just say, fuck off, like, we're never going to play that show at the Gorge. We're never going to play
retiring.
Deer Creek. Yeah, we're fucking out. I'm not going to do it. But what I do dread is them announcing a fall tour that's going to be
superseding the summer tour, like,
well, or
just limited. You mean not you're able to get tickets for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if they do that, if they say, listen, we're pushing all of summer to 2022, but great news, we're going to do this fall run leading up to shows at Madison Square Garden for New York City, all of those tickets are going to be fucking brutal, you know? Because I think there's so much pent up demand right now for live music that
I'll pay a lot of money if I have to tell you the truth.
I would.
I
yeah,
pay
I'm there too.
$800 for a ticket if I had to. Fuck
What?
it, dude. Yeah,
That's
who
a
cares? You know, it's like
For one show,
yeah,
That's a lot.
800.
sure. I'll do it for Fish. It's been now like 2
Damn,
years since I've
dude.
seen Fish, and you know, like, yeah. I mean, who cares? I'll do it.
Okay, listen, I would do that for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, but I mean, if there was like such a limited tour, and because the reason I say that is like, especially if it's smaller venues, because like,
What if it was the Hampton?
well, that would be fucking cool. So maybe I would do that too. But my thought
might
process
do
when I
another
said
show.
that was, if they do like a limited number of fall shows, they're probably going to pick smaller venues because, like, smaller than normal at least, just because of COVID. You know. So what if they like did a small run of like 3,000 to 4,000 person venues? Then I would probably pay
Oh,
$800
Jesus.
for that. I've
That
seen
might
them
be
at a
worth it.
5,000 person venue that wasn't sold out. So it's not.
I mean, listen, I might be there. It depends on how big the venue is. Cause like they did that show at the Met for Sirius XM in
Yeah.
Philly. That was like, that venue only holds like fucking 3,000 people.
I'm not going
or
to pay
some
$800
shit.
for a Dick's ticket. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
You know, but
and
I mean,
that's my point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it depends on what the first show back is. And I
yeah.
don't know. I would love to be there because, you know, the debate of what's the first song they play. And I love where your head went with, well, it has to be Fluffhead. You know, I love that, but we're
Yeah.
evolving. We'll see what happens.
Again, for the fish nerds, thanks for those non-fish nerds.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking
Just
with
tune
us.
out for the last retroactively. You know.
Retroactively tune out for the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
But lots of good music out there. Like, so check out all the new music. Riley, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we probably should mention DMX. DMX passed
Oh,
away
fuck, dude.
today. Yeah.
Holla. For those
Yeah,
not
so we
watching
did
on
do-
YouTube, we did pick up a pint of fucking Hennessy VSOP for DMX.
To celebrate DMX. Yep.
Yeah, rest in peace. I love DMX. I feel super lucky because I got to see him in 2019. He played a show here in Des Moines at a tiny little club called Woolies, and it was fucking sold out, filled to the brim, and it was such a fun party. Man, it was so
I
fucking
bet that was
good.
pretty wild.
It was, dude. I mean, it was absolutely insane. The crowd was super lit, and he was, dude, he was really fucking good. It was a lot of fun. And
Did he have a band with him, or what did he like? Was it
No.
just him?
just him and a DJ.
Just
I mean,
him
he
and
had a
DJ.
hype man. He had a hype man.
Him
up
and a
there.
DJ and a hype man.
Yeah. But it was, dude, he was really fucking good. He was on point. And I desperately wish that I would have went to the Lime Lounge afterwards.
Was he there?
Fuck
Did he show
yeah,
up?
dude. He literally, like, he shows up at the Lime Lounge with another bottle of Henny. And I guess like they kept that place open till like 4:30 in the morning. So that way DMX and everybody that fucking showed up there could rage.
That place is closed now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they run into some troubles. Apparently, you're not supposed to stay open until 4:30 in the morning.
Apparently, even if DMX is in town,
Yeah.
fuck off.
That's not an exception that the law enforcement
law-
accepts. Yeah,
It's
They
not an
should.
acceptable excuse.
yeah. Who knew?
But I do feel really lucky to have seen him. Did you ever get a chance?
No.
Riley? No.
No.
Fuck. It was really good. And I've been listening to DMX all day. It's dark and hell is hot. If you haven't done it, fucking do it. Be a rough rider.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
and drink some Hennessy at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Pour some out for your homies.
That's right. Yeah. Should we get into this week's music?
Please, can we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you going first or am I going first this week?
I think I'm 135 today. I'm going with
I
it.
think you say that
That's
every
okay.
week.
Do I say that every week?
No. You don't say that every week. All right. So you be
I say it every other
135.
week.
Listen, you be 135 on this list. I'll be 135 on Rex.
Okay, deal. Yep, that
Deal.
works.
Okay.
Okay, so for those who, for the uninitiated, as we say, this is This List Sucks, where we go through lists. We talk shit about them, and because mostly they suck, as we have discovered in our research, which is very thorough.
Super.
And we are going through Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time that they put out last year, 2020, for posterity. If you're not listening in 2021, and we're picking it up today at number 390, and that is Pixies' Surfer Rosa, which is the reason Riley wanted to join on today's episode, right?
Yep.
So Rolling Stone description: the brainy Boston quartet went up against punk producer Steve Albini for one of the era's most influential rock sounds. All razor blade guitars and drum thud. It became the sound of the 90s, as everyone from Nirvana to PJ Harvey went to Albini, hoping to get the raw power of Surfer Rosa. Black Francis goes from a whisper to a scream in oddities like Bone Machine, River Euphrates, and Where Is My Mind. But bassist and future breeder Kim Deal steals the show with her cheeky Midwest vocals in Gigantic.
A fucking men, Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Riley, do you want to kick this off?
Yeah.
Because this is your jam.
Yeah, you had a story you were going to tell us about this one. What was
Exactly.
So this is one of my top 10 favorite albums now for sure. But the first time I ever listened to it, I was like maybe 12 years old, and I had seen the movie Fight Club, and I wanted to listen to the song Where Is My Mind? And I hated the rest of Surfer Rosa because it's just so different. When
did you come back to it?
I probably listened to it like 10 or 15 times that first time I listened to it, and it just kind of grew on me over time because of just like the pure manic energy of Black Francis and Kim Deal together is just like, it grows on you.
That's a good way to put it too. Pure manic energy. That's like what it is. I mean, it's so raw. Yeah, I agree exactly with what you just said.
And it's super magic when those two come together. And I think Kim Deal, I mean, listen, she's not a super technical bass player, but it's the energy that she carries when she plays, right?
It's just super simple, but like those first few notes of Gigantic, like you can't help but get into it.
It's all about the energy. Like none of this is virtuosic, and that's that. But it's not to detract. You know, that's not the point of this at all. You know, it's punk rock, it's alternative rock, but it's very punky to me. You know,
yes, it's definitely punk.
Yeah,
and I would say that without Surfer Rosa, you would not get albums like Nevermind the way they are.
Yeah,
you know.
Yep, I agree with that 100%. Actually, because I think I read something about that, even how influenced like Cobain was by that.
Yeah, Cobain loved the Pixies, and he loved specifically Kim Deal and the Breeders too.
Yeah,
I'm right there with him.
Yeah,
I love this album too, though. Like this whole, and again, this was not an album that I was super familiar with. Everybody knows Where's My Mind because presumably everybody has seen Fight Club. You know, and when
it's in a lot of movies.
Yeah, and what's the scene when Where's My Mind's playing?
The world is crashing down.
Oh yeah.
As every single one of those bombs is going off, they're looking out over that cityscape. They're watching all of the buildings collapse, and it's boom, 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 boom.
Perfect. What a good choice, dude.
It's perfect, right? Lyrically, it's flawlessly perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it. So the vocalist, Black Francis, dude, I love his voice so much, but I also feel like this could be kind of a divisive voice because I feel like I could see how maybe some people don't like the timbre of his voice, but I love it. But he gets kind of weird. Yeah. It's unique.
Like his barking that he does on Bone Machine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was like, yeah, that's what I mean is like, it was so like weird and experimental, and he has kind of a unique sounding voice that if someone said, hey, I just can't get into the Pixies because, well, I should just say Pixies because it's not the Pixies, it's Pixies. If someone can't get into Pixies, if someone said I can't dig the Pixies because I don't like his voice, I wouldn't be like, you're stupid, you know. Yeah. But I love his voice personally.
I do too. Yeah. And it's funny because even in Bone Machine, the note that I made on here is that you get both Black Francis and Kim Deal. They're not singing harmonies though. Does that make sense?
They're almost singing like dissonances.
Yeah.
You know, the
Neil
opposite
always
of
sounds
harmonies.
like- she's like a little bit flat. It sounds like all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's perfect. It shouldn't be any other way. You
yeah,
know?
that's exactly how it should be.
it
Yeah.
sounds exactly the way that it should be, but you can't call it a harmony. It's two people that are singing the same words,
but not necessarily in harmony.
No, they're not in harmony, but god damn it, it works.
Yeah, it really does.
Like it's so.
And speaking of Bone Machine, to me, what stuck out is that is basically, it's actually the opposite, but the Raconteur's Steady as She Goes
Mhm.
is basically that. Like I was listening to it and I was like, whoa, that's exactly the same thing. You know?
I guess it is.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I didn't realize that this band was out of Boston, because to me, this whole album reeks of Seattle. I mean, that like when you think about grunge or like the concept of the Seattle sound, this is that in my mind.
Yeah, but like an earlier, rawer version of it almost. Like compared to what became super prominent, like Nirvana, obviously, you know?
Because Nevermind relative to this is almost heavily produced.
Same producer though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Albini always does that. He kind of leaves things. He really likes like a raw sort of sound.
No? Is it not? I thought it was.
Oh yeah, Steve Albini produced Nevermind. Answer for Rosa.
I thought so, yeah.
No. Sorry, gentlemen.
No?
Butch Vig.
Much big.
Produced? Nevermind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Steve Albini was definitely involved with Nirvana, right?
Yeah.
I think that he was involved with Nirvana, but I know that, well, first of all, I know because I've Googled it, but I also knew that because Butch Vig is the drummer for Garbage.
In Utero. Steve Albini did In Utero.
Okay. Like I'll completely buy that, but no, I knew that Butch Vig produced Nevermind.
Yeah. Steve
that
Albini
kinda-
did In Utero. Okay.
That kind of blew
so-
me away that Butch Vig was like the drummer for Garbage, which Garbage, like I really enjoy Garbage. Like to me, that's I'm pretty sure they've been snubbed on this list.
Have they been? Because if yes, we need to do a Garbage snub episode
of the
And in
self-titled, right?
We should do that the week that my dad's here. He loves Garbage.
I fucking love Garbage too.
That can be the snub episode when my dad's here.
Well, let's fact check that. Hey, okay, so anybody that has spoiled this entire list for themselves, quasi, or I should say, ex-producer of the show,
Yeah, you know,
ex-production manager Justin,
recently ostracized.
he was desperately requesting why he got fired. We had to tell him tonight it's because he didn't request any away time, and that was the reason why he was terminated. But I mean, listen, if you want to get back in our good graces, Justin, or Heather Barkley, because Heather has
That's who I was
has
thinking
the
of.
master
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheet. Anybody, if you can text me, text JB right now. If you know that Garbage, the self-titled Garbage album in particular, if that's not on
Or
this
any
list,
Garbage, really, though. Yeah.
that's true. Any Garbage, but the self-titled one to me, like that would be the criminal. That would be the one that's most criminally left off this list.
Yeah.
But if that's not on the list, yeah, I'm all about it. And if your dad loves them, then fuck yeah, let's do it. Because Shirley Manson's a genius, and Butch Vig was fucking drummer.
And speaking of that, production manager position is wide open. So, you know, we have an application that's open on our website, and you can go up there and check that out. Sorry, Justin.
I mean, you can resubmit your resume if you would like.
Yeah, we'll
Justin.
probably accept you, you know, but you're gonna have to apply for it like everybody else.
Okay, so let's get back to the Pixies. Gigantic River Euphrates. I'm amazed.
I'm amazed.
Brick is Red.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those songs were standout songs for me. Yes, Rex, you can apply.
Did he say something? Did he text you?
Yeah, Rex is informally applying for the position.
You're hired, Rex. Sorry, Justin.
I loved Bone Machine. I loved Break My Body. I mean, honestly, there were only a couple of songs that I didn't put stars next to.
I put them on most of them too. Like
Yeah.
the ones that had 3 stars for me were, because I didn't have any. I'm looking through. I don't think I had. Well, I had a couple. I had 1 2-star tune. The rest were either 1. I had a couple that had no stars. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, the rest were either 1 or I had 3 tunes that had 3 stars, and that was Gigantic, Where's My Mind, and Brick is Red.
I put
I agree
5.
with that.
I put 5 next to Where's My Mind.
Did you really?
It's a good song.
It's like just because of like the cultural zeitgeist surrounding that song, to me, like that's, I don't know. I'll never forget the first time that I heard that song, because it was in Fight Club, in a theater in Jacksonville, North Carolina, when I was in the movie theater. And I remember thinking to myself, Jesus fuck, man, what is this song? Kind of the same thing that you did.
It's such a simple guitar riff, but it's so iconic.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. It like got me thinking, like sometimes like it's the simplest riffs that are the most iconic, you know?
And his voice too, you know, that's really like, that voice is particularly, or that song is a particular standout just to get that.
I was interested to ask you, because his voice, especially on the song Cactus, his voice kind of reminds me of LCD Sound System. Do you notice any kind of like similarities there?
Yep.
Especially like the song, what's the North American
Scum?
Yeah. The voice that he sings like the verses on that, it sounds like the guy from the Pixies. Do you know that song? LCD Sound System. Yeah. That was one of the earlier albums on the list. But
definitely worth jumping into, Riley. Like,
yeah, I
should
listened
do
to it. I don't remember it.
Yeah. But that's because that is one of the few songs that there's not an effect on James Murphy's voice in North American Scum, but he's overdriving the mic. Does that make sense?
yeah, it's like it's so high that it's distorting a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, they just have the
is
gain.
set so
Yeah,
high.
they got the gain turned way the fuck up on that mic in that song.
His voice sounds a lot like the Pixies guy for me.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. I love James Murphy's voice, and I love Black Francis too. For me, undoubtedly, Kim Deal is the highlight for this record for
Agree
me.
100%.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, she really is like
I probably feel the opposite. I probably, for some reason, I'm probably more of a Black Francis dude.
Are you?
Yeah,
All right.
I think so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever done the Breeders?
No, actually.
You
should.
check out the Breeders.
Yeah.
They're good.
Because the Breeders is, I mean, in a weird way, it's similar, you know, it's similar in feel, but at the same time, completely different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't have that like craziness that Black Francis brings, but it's
What was the way you described it?
manic.
Yeah, that was like the perfect.
It is. It's a flawless adjective.
And I haven't
what he's
mentioned this
doing.
yet, but for me, one of the huge highlights of this was the drums. And I was like thinking that, and I remember reading online that was like one of the big deals about this record. And I'm gonna pull it up to see, like, you guys can talk about something else if you want but I remember reading that like the drum recording was like influential on this hugely. It was praised for its drum sound or something.
The way that they recorded, you're saying? Or
I think that the drums played into a lot. Like a thing that a lot of people say about this record is they use a lot of like quiet loud dynamic.
Mhm.
And I think the drums play a big part in that.
Okay. I can buy that argument, because there is a lot of that, you know. That notion of on off. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm trying to think, there's another record this week that we went through, or at least that I went through, and I was thinking the exact same thing, just in terms of the use of space in a song, if that makes sense. Because you don't hear it all the time, right? A lot of music it's music, you know, but it's rare that an artist uses space as a portion of the song. And I'll hopefully find it as we're flipping through stuff here, but and fuck, I mean, I may have made that note here on the Pixies, but I'm not going to read through 4 pages worth of shit.
I'm struggling to find the note that I read about the drums, but what I did find, something kind of interesting, was about the recording technique. So apparently it says, during Kim Deal's vocal takes during Where Is My Mind and Gigantic, Steve Albini decided to move the equipment into the bathroom to achieve more of a roomy echo. So that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And you can definitely, because it's not that it's reverb, but in a lot of ways it is kind of reverby, like you're sitting inside of a bathroom or something.
Yeah. And on Something Against You. Is that on this?
Yeah. He was singing into the guitar amp.
Yeah. They had his vocals going through a guitar amp.
I was going to ask you what you guys thought of that.
I love that personally.
Yeah, it's cool.
I like distorted, overdriven vocals a lot, and
Which song is that? Crazy on You? Or no,
Something Against You.
Something Against You. All right, hang on.
It's track 3.
Thank you. Yeah, I dug it. It wasn't anything that I didn't put. I put 1 star next to it. But it's.
I didn't actually put any, but they did have those screams. That's another thing. It's like that screaming
the
sound
background
that came up.
right?
What is that? It's like super iconic. I think, you know, it's like very. I don't hear that. It's like a couple. It sounds like it's overlaid or something, and it's like a guttural screaming sound.
It's just the sound that Black Francis makes, I think.
Is that just his fucking voice? Yeah. Okay.
Just him smashing. Okay, so what song was it that at the tail end of it, there's like an outtake?
Oh,
Is it Oh My Golly?
Yeah, Oh My
Was that the
Golly.
song?
Yeah, where he's like, I said you fucking die.
I said you fucking die. And he was literally, they're like,
Like, what did you say? He's
yeah,
like,
you can't hear like whatever they're telling him from the booth, because clearly they heard that from the booth, and he was like, I said you fucking die. And he's like, no, Kim was just putting down her shit, and she was just leaving and said, nobody touch my stuff.
and
And then I said,
you
fucking die. Because the first time that I was doing a cold listen on this record, like that part came up, but I didn't have it turned up loud enough to hear all of the banter. And I was just like, Jesus, this is fucking aggressive, like really aggressive. But then when I went back and listened to it on higher, but then on higher volume, I was like, oh, that's actually really funny. Yeah, really funny and really clever.
No, I read that Steve Albini regrets putting that like the studio conversation cuts in there, but I kind of like them.
I like
the
him
one
too.
on,
I like it too. Yeah.
the one on I'm Amazed is funny too, with the like field hockey player.
Yes.
Oh, is that where Kim Deal's talking, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, she keeps telling the story. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm with you. I like the outtakes on there. Like it, I don't know. It adds to the rawness,
Yeah,
I guess,
I agree.
if nothing else.
Well, we do have 4 other albums to talk about tonight.
We do. But before we get into,
Let's read Rex's thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so for Surfer Rosa, Rex said this had better not be the only Pixies album on the list.
It's
fucking
not.
Doolittle or fucking spoiler.
Ooh, spoiler.
Oh, I love that spoiler though. That actually gets me super excited. Fucking Doolittle or Bossa Nova had better be on here and had
Dude,
better
yeah.
be in
Bossa
the
Nova, man.
in
That's
the
cool.
top fucking 250. Is it?
Doolittle is
Wait, they're so we have 2 more Pixies album coming up?
just one.
Okay.
Just Doolittle.
All right. Spoiler alert.
Ooh.
Top 250 Doolittle. Rex goes on to say, I love this album. It's greasy with gritty guitar chords, raspy at times vocals, silky smooth bass lines. It has this beautiful garage band sound to it, and I adore it. This is just an instant classic album to me from Pixies. From Bone Machine to Kim Deal's vocals and bass work on Gigantic to the haunting vocals of Where Is My Mind. I'm so glad this album appeared on this list. I would like to see it closer to 300, but I'm impressed Rolling Stone put it on the list at all. Still have a crush on Kim Deal and this album. Rex, I'm with you right there.
Yeah.
I'm right there too.
Yeah.
I've had a crush on Kim Deal since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
Well, so I have to ask you though, this being one of your favorite records of all time, do you think this should be above Doolittle?
I think it should be closer.
But you still think
okay.
Doolittle should be higher?
I like Doolittle better as a record, but I like the rawness of this album better. If you listen to Surfer Rosa and then go listen to the first song of Doolittle is Debaser, you can hear how much more produced it is.
Mhm.
And I prefer the sound of Surfer Rosa for sure. But the songs on Doolittle are better, I would say.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Is Kim Deal on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kim doesn't leave the band until 1993.
Well, they broke up for a while
Yeah.
and then they got back together for Bossa Nova and Tremblement. However
Gotcha.
you pronounce it.
So higher, lower, do you like the placement?
I would definitely put it closer to Doolittle, which is higher for sure. I would put Surfer Rosa around maybe like 250.
Wow. Okay,
Just
so a
'cause,
lot
like,
higher for you.
I would say that it was like a stepping stone towards like the grunge movement of the 90s.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. Yeah.
How about you?
I wrote down that I could see it higher for sure. My thoughts were around 350. Is what I wrote at least.
It's hard because I don't know what's coming up. And the only thing that I do know is last week Heather was saying, yeah, there's some really good albums coming up. in this block of 100. And obviously, as we move closer to the top, I would assume that we just have more and more really good albums coming up. That being said, even just looking at next week's albums, I like this a lot. It's really, really good. I agree with you. This is one of the forebearers of grunge in general.
Undoubtedly.
And there's a part of me that I don't want to give grunge too much credit, because I think that grunge gets, in some ways, more credit than it deserves.
Sure.
But at the same time, to me, this is also not just a grunge record. Like this is also a forebearer of alternative music.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm probably with you. I would put it somewhere probably between 330 and 370, which is kind of a big range. And it's not a huge jump from here.
Yeah.
But again, that's just because of my own bias against giving grunge more credit than what I think it deserves.
But that means that we're all in agreement that this should bump up a little bit at least.
Yeah, a little bit. And it definitely deserves to be on the list.
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubting there. 100%.
100%.
All right. So, and I did add digital. I'm surprised I didn't already have it. And if I could find a vinyl of this, fuck yeah.
Sames. Samesies. Absolutely.
Yeah.
389. Okay, 389. From 2005, Mariah Carey's album, The Emancipation of Mimi. Get free, Mimi. Rolling Stone says Mariah Carey's last couple of albums had only attained platinum status. Only. Paltry by her usual high-flying standards, but the vocal acrobat swept away the naysayers with We Belong Together, a chattering, heartbroken ballad that interpolates two R&B classics, Bobby Womack's If You Think You're Lonely Now and The Deal's Two Occasions. Then followed that song's huge success with Shake It Off, a dismissive, vengeful cut for all the jilted lovers, and The Emancipation of Mimi turned out to be a sextuple platinum return to form. Fuck me. Jesus, dude, that's a lot of fucking records that this thing sold. And I got first question. So this is our second Shake It Off in 2 weeks.
In 2
Which
weeks.
Shake It Off do you prefer?
Taylor Swift's.
Yeah, there's no question.
Definitely Taylor
right?
Swift.
Like T-Swizzle's Shake It Off. It's
gotta say.
fucking better. Come
so
on,
much
it's got a
better.
Barry sax in it. Like, how many fucking songs get a great Barry sax line? Seriously though, first entry from Mariah Carey. It can't be the only one.
So that
I
is
would
what I
do
was
that.
talking about tonight with another friend of the show, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about, I didn't know the record, but he told me to ask you because he said that you would probably know because it
Okay.
was older.
Yep.
Not that.
Thanks, you fucker.
That came out.
Thanks a lot, Shane.
That came out wrong. I meant like because you're so
I'm an old
no,
fuck.
I'm just fucking with you. Yeah, it's just because you were closer to the age of Shane. But
Yeah.
he said that Butterfly.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with that record?
Yeah.
He said that you would know it because it was played in every roller rink in like the late 90s.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah, and I wasn't going to a lot of roller rinks in the late 90s. I was going to strip clubs in Jacksonville, North Carolina in the late 90s.
Did they have any combinate like strip club roller rinks?
Strip club roller rinks?
Yeah.
Not that I was aware of as a Marine, but I do think back to Mariah Carey's debut, Mariah Carey's album Emotion after that, and it would be really surprising to me if both of those albums don't appear on this list.
You think
and
both of them are going to be on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I really do.
Maybe I've underestimated the impact of Mariah Carey. Like
If
for me,
have
this
you ever
is what
heard-
I was like a kid when like the music video for We Belong Together was out. And that's
Mhm.
like about what I know about Mariah Carey, that and the Christmas tune.
Okay, then when we get to her debut, which her debut has to be on this list. When we get to her debut, you will be it's her dude. They use the phrase vocal acrobats. Yeah, vocal acrobat on here. This is dog shit relative to what she was doing on Emotion and her debut.
That's
Yeah.
amazing because I gotta say, like, I went in expecting like to be wowed by the vocals, and I was way more even than I expected. Like, not that so that's something that like not that I really loved a lot of the songs. To be clear, like, didn't love a lot of the songs. Like, there's some tunes that I do like, but it's not really my thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like probably spin this very often. You know, I don't really like a lot of like it's not my kind of music, but her voice is undoubtedly just incredible, and she just has such a range, and just the control that she has over her voice with those quick runs. I mean, I was fucking blown away by it. The first song that really did that for me was Mine Again, the outro to Mine Again.
Yeah.
The fourth track.
Yep.
I was just like, what the flying fuck? Literally in like the last minute of that, I was like, how did she do that? You know?
Did you take notice of who played bass on that?
Randy fucking Jackson?
Fucking dog. What's up?
He played bass on a lot of the tracks on this.
3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
But that was the one thing about this album that's really unique. And the title of this album is The Emancipation of Mimi. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Mariah Carey's first husband was Steve Matolo, is what I believe the guy's name was. He was her producer for a long time. And, you know, he found her when she was really young. I want to say she was only 19 when her debut came out, something like that, like unbelievably fucking young. And he got married, and there's kind of a lot of like weird, creepy stories about how manipulative and controlling he was of her and her career. Yeah. And so, you know, when this album came out, which by the way, Mariah Carey, 36 years old, when she releases The Emancipation of Mimi, not wholly unlike last week, Diana Ross was 36 years old when she released Diana, which I thought was a really interesting kind of juxtaposition to put those two albums so close to each other from two women that in theory, Mariah Carey not at her peak. Like, I think Mariah Carey's peak was when she was much younger, just because of her vocal range.
Because
like,
that's kind of her thing, is the range.
Yeah.
And it's probably better in the 20s than the 30s. Maybe, for, you know.
Right?
Yeah,
it's just miles.
hard to say, but
it's miles on tires, right? Only we're talking about miles on vocal cords.
Yeah.
And the miles get at you eventually, especially when you hear what the type of shit she was doing on her first 2 records is. If you were impressed by this, I'm super excited for you. Because even though it's not your thing, Jesus God.
I mean, is it your thing? Do you like a lot of these songs? Like, are you going to play this very often?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't add it to digital.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I'm not going to I'm not going to look for this on vinyl, but I appreciate the fuck out of what Mariah Carey does.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fuck out of her talent.
I do too. And like me and Riley talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I pretty much agree 100% with you guys.
Yeah, because Riley was like not super into the music, but he said she probably does belong on the list just because of her voice, if no other reason. She's probably one of the best vocalists ever. You know, I mean, like that's why she's on the list, right? Because, and for me, it's the whistle register. Did you guys read into that at all?
No.
So that's like where she goes into that crazy higher octave.
Mm-hmm.
It's been coined the whistle because it sounds like a fucking whistle, but she's not whistling, she's singing. And that's what it's called, the whistle register. It's so high. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody else sing that high.
This is a diminished version of that.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah, I read the Wikipedia article about this album, and it said that like the critics really kind of panned it for like her voice declining from her first.
This is a decline.
Thank you. I'm so glad you read that, because that's when I'm saying if you're impressed by this. Like, her debut album is literally going to be like, hold my beer.
Damn. Okay.
Especially with that notion of the whistle register, because the stuff that she did on Emotion and on the self-titled debut, it's dude, it's mind numbing. It's mind numbing what she did.
I got to say, I was excited that I get to read Rex's thoughts on this one. So I'm gonna do that right now.
Well,
you want to wait?
I want to pick your brain, Riley.
Okay,
because we're all. I mean, obviously, we're all kind of coming from a similar place, but is there anything that's? I mean, outside of just the range, is there anything else that stood out to you?
I like
good, bad, or otherwise.
Just like the wispiness of her voice when she kind of goes high is like, it's really unique. But I would actually say I kind of prefer when she sings low on this album in particular, just because like. I think that's easier for her at this point.
You think it feels like it's a strain almost?
Yeah, I think it's more natural for her to sing lower.
Especially at the age of 36 relative to the age of 20. Another thing about this album, she worked with a bunch of different producers on this. I don't know how much you dug into that.
There were a lot of personnel on that list.
A ton of personnel, but especially from a production standpoint, right? And so I think that gives this album more diversity in sound from track to track, which I wasn't saddened by. Like, I liked it. But I will say this, she did more tracks with Jermaine Dupri down in Atlanta than what she did with anybody else. And those to me were the real standout tracks, the stuff that she did with Jermaine Dupri.
So which ones were those?
So It's Like That was a Jermaine Dupri. We Belong Together was Jermaine Dupri.
Those were the big
bangers on it. No, I skipped a page. So she worked with Kanye on Stay the Night. She worked with Snoop and the Neptunes on Say Something.
There were a couple tracks with the Neptunes.
Say Something with Snoop was one with the Neptunes, and you're absolutely right. But I'm trying to think about.
I think it was To the Floor. Yeah,
was that the other Neptunes
To the
track?
Floor,
wasn't it?
What'd you say?
That was one with Nelly.
Yep,
on it.
Nelly was on that one, but Neptunes were the band on that one.
Okay. All right. And actually that track was funny because I did like that track. And for the record, I starred a fair number of these songs. I never gave anything more than 1 star, but I did star a fair number of them because it's really good. Like,
there's only one I gave more than. You go ahead.
You can't shit on any track in my mind on this record.
Well, her voice is so good. Yeah.
And that's the thing.
As far as the To the Floor one, like with Nelly, I don't know how necessary that was. I mean, I guess he was just kind of big at that time, but it felt super par for the course for Nelly. It felt like it was unnecessary.
And that's what I was going to say. Like at this point in time in 2005, if you had Nelly featured on your record, this is what you were getting.
Is all it was. Yeah. It's just
and this was like the repeated feature over and over and over again. But at the same time, he's doing exactly what I would want to hear if Nelly is featured on a song.
To the Flow.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what it was. But I liked the diversity in sound that she got from working with all of these different producers and sounds.
The one song that I gave more than 1 star was Your Girl, track 10.
Okay. I gave it 1.
It was kind of a classic soul type tune. It almost reminded me of the Jackson 5.
Yes.
This is what I wrote down.
Yes.
That was my favorite.
That was your favorite too? Nice.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that because it's fun. And that was the best part about Mariah Carey when she was young, was all of her songs like had this youthful exuberance to them.
Yeah.
And that Your Girl really captured it, kind of brought that back, right?
Agreed.
It was a throwback to what she was doing when she was younger. All of that being said, what do you think? Do you keep this? Do you throw it away? Where do you stand on this relative to the list?
I would definitely. I mean, if this is the only Mariah Carey album on the list, I would keep it. But I assume that there will be a better one, and so I would throw this one off.
Okay. I don't hate that.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the other Mariah Carey albums, so I can't really comment on that at all, to tell you the truth. But my thoughts that I wrote down were that I'm fine with it being on the list. It's kind of representing like the early 2000s R&B pop, and it's a good version of that, like in terms of that style and that time stamp. It doesn't get much better than this, probably.
Yeah. It's not my style, but she definitely does what she does very well.
Yeah. And I'll be curious to see how many more Mariah albums we get on the list. And once I see what else we get from her on the list, I'm probably going to reserve judgment to kick this thing off or not. What I will say is that she had a hand in writing every single one of these tunes, which I appreciate the artistry and not just the performance. And from that standpoint, if I was comparing 36-year-old Mariah to 36-year-old Diana Ross on Diana, I loved Diana to death, but she was a performer and she was performing Nile Rodgers songs, whereas Mariah Carey was performing Mariah Carey songs. Does that make sense?
In terms of, you're not judging the artist though, right? You're judging the album. So in terms of like the album,
I would actually
probably like better.
Yeah, I like Diana better.
Same.
I like
yeah.
Diana better.
I agree.
I totally get what you're saying, but
Because
I just had to mention that, like, we are looking at the album as a whole, and I would prefer the Diana Ross album. So,
yeah.
even though she didn't write it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to reserve my judgment of whether I think this thing deserves to be on the list or not based on what other Mariah Carey albums are on here. But I will say this: I know that you're getting ready to jump into Rex. Rex is listening to us right now. He must be watching us on YouTube because he says this place belongs to Moody Blues or Heart. And fuck me if that's not a really, really tough, cogent argument to stand behind.
I could be convinced by that.
Yeah.
Those or several other snubs that we've done. Yeah.
Yeah, but particularly like when you think about them trying to be more inclusive, the conversation that we had last week with Heather and with April about Heart in particular. Yeah. I'm like, there's a part of me that even without knowing what else Mariah is on here, if you told me, Mike, listen, we're more than happy to throw this shit out and put Dreamboat Danny on here, I would take that blind without knowing.
Yeah.
What other Mariah Carey albums are on here, but I'm telling you.
Yeah, because I got to make it very clear with my opinion on in terms of like being inclusive, I'm against it. Like, I really am. Like the best 500 albums are the best 500 albums. I don't think we should leave any record off just because, like, again, it's going to go back to the easiest example to go to is the Beatles. Like, if you're going to tell me every Beatles album is not on here, fuck you. You know, like, I don't think that we should like the best 500 albums doesn't change because you want to be more inclusive. The best 500 albums are the best 500 albums. In my opinion.
And it's funny because when does inclusion create exclusion?
Yeah.
And I want to save that for the snub episode.
Okay.
Because that was a conversation that I want to revisit. But let's talk about what Rex thinks about the emancipation of Mimi. Was she emancipated?
I will be right back.
Okay.
I'm going to read Rex's thoughts on Mariah Carey. So every fucking time I get hyped up about listening to some great albums, the list rears its hooded head around. It bites me in the eardrums and unleashes its venom with this fucking schlock. And then space. Next album, please. Fine, I'll take another one for the team.
Oh, we love you, Rex.
Track number 1 sucks. Track number 2, stereotypical Mariah track. Track number 3, same. Track number 4 sounds like a lounge track. Yeah. Track number 5, I quit. Her emancipation has been revoked. And that's all. This is as far as he got. So
I'm not surprised.
I respect
it's okay.
that,
yeah. I respect the fuck out of that too. So I get it. All right. Should we move on?
Moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. So coming in at 388. Hot damn. Aretha Franklin. That's not what it's called. It's just called Aretha Franklin. Young, Gifted, and Black from 1972. Aretha Franklin was 29 at the time of Young, Gifted, and Black. Jesus, I didn't realize that.
That's crazy.
And she was already on her 19th album at her second record label. 19th album by 29. Holy fuck.
I don't even understand how that's possible, honestly. That's crazy.
Putting out multiple albums in 1 year, I guess, is how that's possible.
Doing that multiple times, too.
Doing that year after year. Yeah. With her gospel choir training and jazz chops, there was nothing she didn't know about singing. Franklin covers and vivifies Paul McCartney and Elton John, not to mention Nina Simone's title song, an anthem of the civil rights movement. And she sings the self-written hits, Daydreaming, Rocksteady, with calm certainty, guided only by the Spirit. Which track was an Elton John cover?
The very last one, Holy Moses.
How did I not know that? That's embarrassing. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm saying it right now. Yeah, that just kind of stuck out to me, so I had to mention that. So yeah, the album was based off of a Nina Simone song.
Yes.
Which was called To Be Young, Gifted, and Black or something like that.
Yep. Exactly. And basically a half and half record. About half of these were original tunes written by Aretha Franklin. The other half were covers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and honestly, I'm fine with that because it's fucking Aretha Franklin.
Well, plus she kind of made the covers
shit.
her own, dude. Like the Beatles cover was The Long and Winding Road, which I've been obsessed with the last couple of weeks for some reason.
Have you?
not necessarily her version, but just the song in general. And that like it's almost unrecognizable for a little while. Like if you didn't
Super unrecognizable in my opinion.
Yeah. Like it took the first time I was listening to it, it took until the line that's like brings me to your door. I was like, whoa, this is the Beatles song. And so that was really cool. I like that she kind of made it her own.
Okay, so how many stars did you put next to that?
3 next to that.
0.
Really? I loved it, dude. I really loved her version of it.
What did you think, Riley?
Do you not like that song?
I thought it was great.
I love Long and Winding Road.
You just didn't like her version of it.
Yeah.
Really? That's crazy, man. I loved it.
I was literally like, as I was listening to it, I was picking up lines. And listen, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like I'm not shitting on what she did. But when I would hear those lines of familiarity, I wanted to hear Paul.
I get that, but I'm glad that it wasn't just the same thing. I'm glad that she put her spin on it. Like what I wrote exactly was, I wrote, this is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. And I love her amazing take on it, is what I wrote there.
So that's funny because I wrote brand new song here from the OG, meaning a totally different take.
Yeah.
Right. This is fine. And I enjoy her take, but this is the first cover where I really wish I could listen to the original.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you guys talk about this for a minute. I'll be right back.
I genuinely feel though that's just because I really do love that song, but I love the way that the Beatles did it. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I really like Aretha Franklin's style. What I really liked about this album was the piano and the bass mostly.
The bass was ridiculous, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And I'm with you. And I think she played most of the piano.
Oh, yeah, on almost every song. I think every song that had piano.
I agree. And I wasn't paying super close attention to it. It's funny because the songs that stood out to me most were actually some of her original stuff. So what track was it? I think it was the 3rd track, Rock Steady. I put a ton of stars next to that, and it was the bass and the guitar.
Yeah.
Like the bass and the guitar on that track are absolutely unbelievable. And so you get, like, to me, the bass and the guitar create the foundation for that song. And then you get her voice over the top of it that is just, put in your superlative, right? Like fill it in with whatever your superlative of choice is, because she's just really, really, really unbelievable. Do you remember the song? It was a cover that she did called A Brand New Me. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I really like that too. So that was a cover of a Dusty Springfield tune.
Really?
Yeah. And it was funny because when I was going through, I first made the mistake of thinking that Dusty Springfield was Buffalo Springfield.
Which track, not to interrupt, I apologize, but which track was the cover by Dusty Springfield?
A Brand New Me, which would have been the 6th track, I think. Yeah, track 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, track 6.
I was just so distracted by her voice on that one. Like what I wrote down was like such warmth to her voice. I literally wrote after that, I think it's the peak of what's possible with the human voice.
Yeah.
Aretha's voice. And like, just, I don't even care what she's singing. Like,
I love
the fucking phone book.
Yeah. The horns on A Brand New Me were fucking really, really stellar. I didn't go back and listen to the original, but I really wanted to, because Dusty Springfield, for those unfamiliar with Dusty Springfield, think Son of a Preacher Man, right? And everybody that's ever seen Pulp Fiction should know Son of a Preacher Man, because that's one of the things that Uma Thurman is kind of dancing around to in that movie. And in like digging into Dusty Springfield, I ran across something that was a little bit troublesome to me. And I was talking with Heather Barkley about this earlier this week. So Dusty Springfield, one of the genres that she's been labeled with is blue-eyed soul.
Blue-eyed soul.
What does that mean?
Right? What the fuck does that mean? So blue-eyed soul was kind of a weirdly racist way of describing white people singing soul music in the 1960s. Which I'm glad that we don't use that. I'm glad that we don't use that as a description any longer, because I hate the idea of using the term blue-eyed soul. But at the same time, I mean, I kind of get it. I kind of understand it. But I loved that song. I've Been Loving You Too Long, which was an Otis Redding tune. And she fucking crushed that song. And again, that's one that I really feel like I should go back and listen to the originals on all of these, but I didn't. And quite frankly, I don't even feel like I need to, especially on some of these, because I'll take Aretha's version and I'll be really, really happy with it, including Border Song Holy Moses, which is the Elton cover that she does to close out the album.
That was probably my favorite.
That was your favorite on the whole thing?
Holy Moses.
Good piano.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 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 I love the melody on that. It was a good closer too, but I didn't realize it was a cover. That's just stupid of me not to realize that, but weird to close with a cover.
Well, I mean, half of them are, right? Even the track before that, Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time? That's a Delphonics cover. A Long and Winding Road is a Beatles cover. Obviously, there's a Brand New Me, the Dusty Springfield cover. Young, Gifted, and Black is the Nina Simone cover. She does April Fools, which is a Burt Bacharach fucking tune.
Yeah, but I don't mind. Like, it's an incredible album.
She really makes them her own.
Yeah, she really does.
And that's the key, right? That's the key, is that, and again, I'm fascinated to go back and listen to all these originals, because I suspect that when I go back and listen to the original, the only thing that's going to be a corollary with what Aretha did were the words. I mean, maybe the keys, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the keys and the instrumentation.
I bet she changes the keys even. I bet it's just the vocals, or just the lyrics.
The lyrics. And that's kind of what I think too, especially because the only one that I'm intimately familiar with would be Long and Winding Road. And her take is just, it's wholly original based on the source material. So
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I loved it, to tell you the truth. Just like one of the notes I made at the end was just, wow, like undoubtedly this is one of the best albums ever made, is what I wrote. And I really do feel that way. I'm gonna agree with that, even despite finding out that a lot of them were covers. Like, just, I mean, she's just so incredible. Like, there's just no other way to put it. She's one of the,
it's Aretha Franklin.
maybe the best. I mean, like, one of the best vocalists ever. You could argue the best. Anything she does is gold.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Riley, you're right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, she's magic. What are you doing with it placement wise?
I think it's probably right in the right place.
I'm cool with it where it is.
Yeah.
I think
Really?
it belongs on the list, but what do you want to drop it down?
No, but you were just so crazy about it. You were super hyped on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's on the top 500 of all time. So, I mean,
Fair.
if I want it to be on the top 500, I'm pretty hyped about it, but it's not low. I don't want to drop down, but I'm not like it needs to go up either.
Listen,
but I think it belongs on the list.
It's funny because and I get it, right? We're talking about the 500 greatest albums of all time. So you're writing down, this is one of the greatest albums of all time. Like, when you first said that, I was thinking to myself, oh man, he's going to want to move this up a lot.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. Like, I actually think that this is a really good spot for this album. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to move it up. I don't want to move it down. I like where it's at in basically not the last quintile, but like the second quintile from the bottom. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Rex says that Spotify thought it was Big Daddy Kane.
I read
wanted
that,
to
yeah.
listen to. Had to go back and double check the list. Get your shit together, Spotify. Rex says, thank God it's Aretha. Otherwise, Rolling Stone was going to get a strongly worded letter in the mail.
By mail.
Aretha.
Please don't send things like that in the mail.
Yeah, right. You had me at the first note. It's too bad that Aretha was one in a billion vocalist strength, range, and beauty in her voice. They're all there. Love this album. Just a great reminder of the incredible music that was made back in the day. Put this album on one winter evening, pour a scotch, and watch the snowfall. That is,
I like that.
Dude, that's a beautiful
That sounds really
sentiment.
nice.
I've thought about that a lot, and I was thinking about that. I was like, that's a fucking great idea. And I was thinking, like, I don't really have anywhere in my house where I can really watch the snowfall. Like, I don't have like good windows, but like,
Yeah, you do. You got some
I could
good
do.
windows.
Well, the front porch is cold, you know. But
Well, boo
so I was
fucking
thinking
you,
about it. I
there's
was like,
snow
you know what?
falling.
So I was like, literally, I'm not even kidding. I was thinking about, after reading Rex's message, I was thinking about my next house that I buy has to have like a good window to watch the snowfall.
While
And I
listening
don't
to
mean that.
Aretha.
I'm not even joking. Yeah, I was like, that's legit. That would be a cool way to spend an evening. You know,
Especially with this album, the way that she structured this album, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's fun. That was a good one.
yeah. I
All
agree.
right.
So we are going to be calling in
Booyah.
another special guest for this next song.
It's gonna be a weird pseudo quad pod sample.
Yeah.
For this week.
He's coming in from Brooklyn, New York.
Holla.
Mr. Justin Handel. His third appearance. So he's by far the most prolific guest.
The most prolific guest.
Yeah.
I love it though. And I'm glad that he's joining us to talk about this.
But we're literally going to call him. You're going to hear the
Ringing,
dial in. Yeah,
everything.
exactly. So
I mean, we could technically mute it, I guess, until he picks up.
I don't want to though. I kind of like the idea of them
you?
hearing the. You
What if it goes to voicemail? Yeah. Especially if it goes to
He said he's
voicemail.
ready. Especially if it goes to voicemail, it'll be hilarious. Yeah. Please answer, Justin.
And if you don't, we're gonna leave you like a 45-minute fucking voicemail.
We're just gonna record the rest of the episode on your voicemail. Okay, here we go. We're calling
All right.
Justin for number 387.
So sorry, I'm not trying to laugh. Oh yeah, we got to play with the volumes too.
Hi, this is Justin, and you've reached my voice. Please do text me at least 2 hours in advance so I can be better prepared for the next time.
Hi,
Have a
Justin.
great rest of your day. Bye now.
Hi, Justin.
Hello, Justin.
Hey, what's going on?
Another man, how are you?
Pretty great. I've been watching along for, I don't know, the last while now, and I've really enjoyed it, except for the way that you slighted Mariah Carey and the significance of We Belong Together in American pop music culture, but I'm happy to move on past.
Dude, on
Well, no,
fire.
no.
Out of the
Spit
gate.
it out. Spit it
Yeah,
out.
let's
Tell
go.
us, tell us your thoughts on
Give
We
us-
Belong Together.
Give us your thesis, please.
All right. So, okay, seriously, We Belong Together. I think, Mike, you called it out. By the way, Mike, I love the Run the Jewels shirt. It's a really cool shirt.
Holla.
But what you got, like you called it out, Jermaine Dupri produced it. Jermaine Dupri, very prolific producer in this era. But I think what, it's a great track for that reason. But what you missed is that this came 10 years after All I Want for Christmas, right? So,
Yeah.
like, her money was in the bag. Like, she had already done it. She had everything she ever needed. And she came back to give the fans one more, And I think that, first of all, it deserves a lot of respect and appreciation. And second of all, there are a number of songs, and one of which I believe is probably on an album on this list, which I'm gonna guess is a Channel Orange by Frank Ocean. You can't listen to the chorus of We Belong Together and not think that Thinking About You by Frank Ocean was directly pulled from that vocal melody. Like I cannot disassociate the two. Like they are so linked.
I love where your head is at, especially with Channel Orange, because I'm with you. And I think that Channel Orange, I mean, I don't know this for certain, but I'm assuming that Channel Orange is ridiculously high on this list only because of call it recency bias, call it whatever you want to, but people went absolutely gaga over that disc. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. And I'll be really curious to see whenever we get to Channel Orange, if we get that hearkening back. And Justin, I don't disagree with you. This is a great comeback album because in all honesty, Mariah Carey she dropped a couple of just fucking turds out in the middle of the field after her, say Butterfly, right? Because Butterfly was such a huge fucking record. And then she just had some shit that fell in there.
Is bad.
Yeah. I mean,
What was
really
it?
fucking
What'd you
bad.
say it was?
Charm Bracelet.
Charm Bracelet.
Not
It's
familiar, luckily.
Yeah. You don't want to be familiar, but I mean, this album, it's really, really fucking good. Really good. And I love the diversity of production that she had between the Neptunes, Jermaine Dupri. And there were 3 or 4 others across this album that don't come to mind right now, but all right, I'm down. And I definitely want to revisit this. So
yeah,
we need to have you back. We'll have you back for Channel Orange. How about that?
If it's on this list, and I'm just betting that it is, and like you said, probably pretty high due to recency bias. But I love that album, and like I've never been able to thinking about you. It's probably like maybe the second best song on that album, without saying like this is a Mariah Carey song, just like repurposed by Frank Ocean, which is fine. Like that's that song. If you want to recycle a Mariah Carey song, you're probably going to end up with an R&B hit. So go for it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, let's get to the reason why you're here tonight, Justin.
Yeah.
You want to
Yep.
You got it, Mike.
Yeah, let me go.
Yeah.
So from 2007, the next album that we're going to talk about at 387 is titled In Rainbows from Radiohead. So Rolling Stone says Radiohead released In Rainbows as a surprise download in the fall of 2007, letting fans pay whatever they liked. But the real surprise was how expansive the music turned out to be. With material the band had road tested live in the US all summer, Tom York gets soulful in the intense love songs All I Need, House of Cards, and Nude. It's Radiohead's warmest album with the vibe of a communal jam session, one that's taking place at the end of the world, of course.
Of course. So, Justin, you told me earlier today that this is one of your top 5 albums. So I want to let you kick it off. What are your thoughts on In Rainbows, Justin?
Sure. So you're right. So for me, I'm not going to say that like this should be one of the 5 best albums of all time. For me, personally, it is a top 5 album of all time. I cannot say enough good things about this album. But why I think that it absolutely belongs on this list, and frankly why it's extremely it's rated way too low, is that it's a culmination of a career in a way, and also like an inspiration for future musicians that it's very rare, I think, that you'd find something similar on this list. So like its genre is credited as art rock, experimental rock, art pop, and electronica, which when you hear experimental and art in genre in like electronica back in 2007, like, does that sound like a chart topping album? No, of course not. But it topped both the UK and the US charts. And I think that says a lot about what they're able to accomplish. I feel like they were groundbreaking in electronica and experimental and alternative rock in a way that, hadn't been seen for a long time. And this album absolutely just paved the road for so much that has come after it. And on a more personal note, it's really hard to find an album that, you plop it on the platter, drop the needle, and for the next hour or however long the record's going to be, you're just absolutely fully engrossed in it. And I'm so glad Riley is the guest today, because I think it was like myself, our dear friend Troy Gordon, and Riley was my roommate my freshman year in college. I think we were all there, and I don't know, maybe even JB was there, but we all had maybe inhaled a little bit of the funny stuff, and we sat down and we listened to this album start to finish. Just no words were spoken, just absolute silence, just listening to this album. And that's the power, is that there's nothing that needs to be said. No one was like, hey, let's switch it up to something else. Like, this album, start to finish, is inventive and classic all at the same time, and just very, very powerful. I always thought it's showing you something new, but making you feel comfortable that it's something you've already known and felt before. And I've never felt such balance in a record before.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I feel a lot differently about In Rainbows. I feel like it kind of creates like this like eerie mood when you're listening to it. Like it definitely like pulls you in and like envelops you, and it's like you can't focus on anything else when you're listening to it. But it's not. I wouldn't call it comfortable. It's definitely like sort of eerie is how I would describe it.
Justin,
Well,
I love.
very.
I'm sorry. I don't want to talk over you, but I've been wanting to hear that all night. Like your rationale for this record, just because JB had told me ahead of time, you know, how important this record was for you, like where this is in the pantheon of your personal big albums. And I'm curious only because when I listen to this record, I think about this being a realized vision of all of the disparate pieces that Radiohead had been working on in previous albums. Meaning, you know, if you go back and listen to the Benz or Pablo Honey, the really early stuff, it was really kind of a pure play on alternative music. You know, some people argue that some people might argue that there's a little bit of grunge there, but I think that Radiohead was never really grunge. Like Radiohead was alternative. That, you know, Creep sounded a little grungy because of the guitar tone from Johnny Greenwood.
I think you could maybe argue strictly that song was grunge,
Yeah.
and then the rest was not.
I wouldn't even argue that song was grunge. I would argue that song got sold as part of the grunge movement. But fuck that. Like the rest of that album wasn't. And especially when you get to the Benz is just really, really, it's really alternative. OK Computer is when you start to get a little bit of the electronica. Kid A is almost pure electronica. And by the time that they get to In Rainbows, you finally get this fulfillment of everything that they had been playing with in pieces. And they said, you know what if we just put this puzzle together and made a picture out of all of the parts? And I feel like that's kind of what you were alluding to when you described it. Am I wrong?
No, that's kind of, yeah. I think I mentioned that it was like partially a culmination of prior efforts. But I think I said culmination.
Yeah,
and it really is. If you look on Spotify and if you look up In Rainbows, you'll see that someone did a mashup of like every other song is like the first track of OK Computer, and then the first track of In Rainbows, and then the second track of OK Computer, and the second track of In Rainbows, and so on and so forth. And if you listen to it, it flows in a very just bizarrely smooth fashion, almost like a concept album, and it's very strange. Yeah. And it's creepy, but like I don't know. To me, like Radiohead is like almost deity, like, you know, I don't know, or musicianship, where like that's just everything they've done, like almost what Mike has said, like everything they've done just kind of culminated in this record, and like in a creepy way. It's like they couldn't have even planned it. It's just like everything they've done was like leading to this, and this is what it was. And I think at the time it was their highest grossing album, and they gave it away.
And they
fucking gave it away.
It was fucking free, and they made more money on it than anything else.
Yeah. Marketing tip to bands out there. So my thought, I want to say, like, I think that what everybody's opinion has been so far is valid, because I totally agree with everything Justin said, but Riley said that this to him, this album is eerie, you know, and like, I totally agree with that. But at the same time, I think that the other Radiohead albums are maybe more eerie, you know, and that this is a little bit less so, but it still is haunting and eerie, you know, like probably haunting was the word I used the most as I was taking notes on this album. Like so many of these are like ethereal and haunting. I can't think of a better word to describe it than that, you know, but so in terms of like comparing to other albums, I have to make a confession that I don't think I'm at the point that I fully get Radiohead, like get in quotes, and like,
really?
Yeah, I don't think I'm there yet, but I think I could see myself getting there. But I'm not there yet. That's the truth for sure. But that being said, for some reason, this album is like what my brain wants to hear from Radiohead. And I've listened to every Radiohead album, definitely. And the music that I like the most is usually a little bit harder to crack.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that this could be that, and that I just haven't spent enough time tapping on it, you know?
Yeah.
And
I feel like that's true, particularly of the other Radiohead albums that are assuredly going to appear on this list.
Yeah,
because
certainly OK Computer, Kid A will be on here. Maybe that's it.
The Bends.
Maybe the Bend.
You think the Bends will be on there too?
Just for my Iron Lung, at least.
Well, Iron Lung, Black Star, Plastic Trees, High and Dry.
What'd you say, Justin?
Fucking album is stoked. Is just jammed.
What'd you say?
I thought that maybe you would have liked this album best of all the Radiohead records, just because like I think that the musicianship is like this is a pinnacle of Radiohead musicianship. Like they're very blessed to have Johnny Greenwood on staff, who's actually he scores films most often for Paul Thomas Anderson, who did like There Will Be Blood, which won the Oscar for Best Picture. He did
Phantom Thread.
Thomas.
He was nominated for an Oscar for the score that he fucking did for the Phantom Thread. Yeah. He didn't win, but he was fucking nominated, which is a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. He's an incredible musician in multiple ways. Like not only as a rock and roll guitarist or alt rock guitarist, but as a composer of film scores. But his production on this album, obviously Nigel Godrich gets a lot of credit, but like the layering of the tracks that you hear on songs like, I think primarily like Weird Fishes is a great example. Videotape is a great example of sampling and layering. I thought that you would really appreciate that because there's a lot of effort that goes into each of the individual tracks and the timing and the layering. So I really thought you would enjoy it.
It's funny because you, JB,
was he talking to me or were you talking to Mike, Justin?
No, I think he was talking to you.
But I thought that JB, you would like this record because of the complex instrumentation and layering.
No, and
all of the different.
And I don't think I really finished what I was saying, but to your point there, this one was definitely the one that has resonated with me most from any of their albums. So, and this is like from all the Radiohead that I've heard, this is what I want to hear from them is what's on this one. But I also think that, like I said, I really haven't really cracked the egg yet entirely. What were you going to say, Mike?
You used the word haunting, and when I like, I love, so Kid A is probably my favorite Radiohead album, just because it was so ridiculously experimental in everything that they were doing on that. And to me, if you want haunting from Radiohead, How to Disappear Completely is fuck. I mean, it's fucking it's mind melting,
And Kid A is probably I spent less time with than OK Computer. OK Computer I probably listened to all the way through 4 times, probably.
That's really?
Probably all the way through 4 times. Is that a low number?
Yeah.
For Radiohead? Okay. Kid A I probably listened to twice all the way through.
Oh, you gotta listen to Kid A.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so, you gotta listen to both those albums a lot more because there is.
And that's what I think it is about Radiohead is it's not accessible.
No.
You have to, but that's what I'm into. I'm into the long climb and the big reward, so I'm cool with it, but I just haven't done that as much with Radiohead. So that was the confession I had to make, was that I'm not fully there yet, but I think I can be. But one thing that I really, really appreciate is their willingness to experiment, just throughout they have this desire to kind of cover new ground with everything that they release, which I think is admirable. And 2, their audience's eagerness to accept that experimentation. You know what I mean? Because you get a lot of times people they want to hear their favorite artist kind of just put out what they want to hear, and that's not the case with the Radiohead audience.
No.
People that love Radiohead, and the reason that I say that I haven't fully got Radiohead is because I like Radiohead. I listen to them, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But there are the Radiohead crowd is like obsessive about Radiohead. They are insanely into it.
Yep.
And I'm not there yet. I'm not at that point. Like when I listen to it, I dig it, and I'll put it on, and I listen to it, and I like it, and I'm sure I have fun at a show. But like, I'm not at that point yet. So that's what I mean when I say that I haven't fully got Radiohead. I haven't reached that point of like the average Radiohead fan, where you're like die hard and you're obsessed with it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, now that I live in New York, I am just counting the days until I can go see a Radiohead show.
Yeah.
But JD, I think that you would like this album, for multiple reasons. But one of which, like, they actually, similar to Fish, like, they toured a lot of these tracks before they actually put them down. Like, they actually even had, like Reckoner was, like, a concept, or, like, a premise that they attempted in the past. And then they canned it, and then they revisited it, changed up, the instrumentation and the composition, and rewrote it and put it on this album. And like, I think that you would appreciate that kind of ethos of like, hey, let's not just, even though they're experimental, like, part of experimenting is also
Let's road test it. Yeah.
Well,
trial and error. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the fascinating part about this record is they tried to record this record and they just fucking kept hitting walls.
Yeah.
Where it was like, Jesus, fuck this.
Their producer helped them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and originally they tried to self-produce it and they were getting nowhere.
Yeah.
So then they said, fuck it, let's go out on the road. And they started playing some of this shit live to see if it would work and to see if it would happen. And then they came back, brought in the producer that they had worked with before and that they felt like could help them get there. And then, moved around from a couple of different places to record some of these tracks and go from one spot to the next. And they really, listen, it was a lot of fucking work that paid off, in my opinion. I mean, every single one of these songs actually, I should say it this way. There were only three songs that I put 1 star next to. Everything else has 2 or 3 stars for me. And the highlights being Weird Fishes, unbelievable. Nude was my favorite on the whole album. Like between the bass and the vocals, it is just unbelievable. And that song is just rife with these crazy ambient sounds that get mixed in there.
Super ambient. Yeah.
Reckoner is spectacular. Jigsaw falling into place, spectacular. Videotape, fucking come on, like a Tom York piano, basically kind of a ballad-esque closer that is just, it's marvelous. It's marvelous.
Well, I was about to say, after Justin mentioned Reckoner, let's talk songs. So like, that's interesting that you say that, and I'll start with that just because it's going to be up from there. for me. So
you don't like Reckoner?
No, I liked Reckoner. But talking about what Mike was talking about with Videotape, for some reason I didn't dig that one.
You didn't
Really?
like Videotape?
Yeah.
What?
He said that.
Piano.
Yeah.
The piano, man. Come on.
Have you?
It seems super. It seems super. So here's what I wrote. I wrote super spacey, restrained, dare I say, boring track of a closer. And
You
I
better
said,
not there.
and I said this, and I wrote, this doesn't stick out to me in any way. I hate to say it. It's that.
Okay.
I disagree strongly.
Yeah, Riley, jump in here.
Sorry, guys.
Dude, Videotape is great. The piano is just like,
Maybe I need to listen again.
Amazing.
I don't know. Maybe I need to listen to it again. For some reason, like, and I loved most of this record, but Videotape, I was like, what? That's the closer?
And
That's how I
lyrically,
felt.
that song is wonderful lyrically. And there was a part of me, because it
And I'm
just
not
starts
arguing
off,
with that. Yeah.
it just starts off with his voice in the piano. And there was a part of me that I never wanted it to change from that. Like I just wanted it to stay that way. But then when you get the drums coming in, the fucking drums are rad.
Well, God, the fact that you guys are all saying this is making me think that I need to listen to it again. But
song is
I listened to it like
beautiful.
2
I know.
times, and for some reason, I was bored by it. I gotta say.
Mm.
Okay, so this is like the lyrics in this song are like partially inspired by Dante's Inferno.
And I definitely picked up on that. And I'm not arguing about the lyrics. I'm talking purely music right now. You know,
And
Like,
like
good
there's
lyrics.
also like, the Faust legend, like there's was it Johann von Goethe? I can't pronounce that shit. There's like Mephistopheles, who is mentioned in the song multiple times. Like that's another name for the devil.
And I
It's
appreciate
about,
that.
like greeting the devil and being faced with a videotape of like the actions of your life and like being held to account. Like it's a very powerful lyric.
No, it's a
Fucking
super
crazy,
cool
dude.
concept. Like a really unique idea. Yeah.
I've never heard a combination of lyrics and music that I think tied together so perfect.
Amen.
But no lyrics can make music worthwhile to me. Like it's like,
Oh, fuck you.
no, you can make a terrible
Fuck
song,
off.
and I don't care what kind of lyrics you had.
Hard.
It's not gonna make it work for me. Like, and I'm not saying that that's the case with this. This is terrible or by any means. It just didn't stick out to me as much as the other songs. And for me, it's mostly like I care about the lyrics marginally, but like I agree. That's a really cool idea that is based on, and I like that a lot. But
that was
if
a crime.
if I don't like love the music, it's not going to. I don't care that much about the lyrics. So,
but I think that's the problem. Is I think that you're listening to these as
I'm separating them.
and,
Maybe.
yeah, and this is a piece of art.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I get it, and maybe I just need to listen to it a few more times.
And I also listen. I'm also throwing out a major fuck you because there was we weren't that far removed from Working Man's Dead.
Yeah.
Right. Where you sat around with your fucking compendium of Robert Hunter lyrics.
That was Justin.
Oh, fuck you. You have that book too, asshole.
I have that book too.
I was the only dickhead that didn't have that
it
fucking
was a
book.
gift. I didn't buy it.
Oh, really? And so you didn't bother reading it either?
Well,
yeah, fuck off. See, you can't sit here and be like, oh, Robert Hunter, oh, the lyrics here, like jerk off into your fucking hand there, but then be like, oh, fuck these lyrics.
I don't
They
think
really
that
don't
I
mean that
represented that at all with the Dead. Like, it's never been about the lyrics, even with the Dead. Like,
God
do I
damn it.
appreciate the?
Stop right now, because
You could go back.
No,
Yes,
everybody interested in being our production fucking manager,
Do it. Yeah.
please submit your fucking resumes now, so that way we could play back previous episodes
Do
where
it.
you do circle jerk on fucking lyrics.
I maybe mentioned it as like that was the one time where they really stuck out or something, but like that was not what was the most impactful part of that music to me at all. And I don't think I represented that. So yes, please do. If you're applying to be the
You
production
fuck.
manager, please.
You fuck. You filthy, filthy
I'm gonna go
fuck.
find this and play it back for you.
Yeah, no, but I'm pretty confident that I didn't say that. So Mike doesn't know what he's talking about.
You were probably just super fanboying the Grateful Dead like you always do.
Exactly.
Could have been the case. Yeah.
God damn it. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, no, and like I said, like, but again, it's for me, the lyrics are going to be a supplemental thing to some extent. If I already love the music and then I love the lyrics, boom, cherry on top. But if the music doesn't stick out to me, then the lyrics aren't going to make it win over for me. You know what I mean?
All right, I don't want to jump the shark here, but then explain Bob Dylan. Because he's going to be in the top 100 probably 15 fucking times. Explain Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I'm not arguing on that at all. Yeah, someone else take that.
wait. You're the only one that's fucking trying to defend this.
Well, I didn't try to defend Bob Dylan for 1 second. So,
Okay, listen, you said that you were going to start with videotape because it can only go up from here. So we all agree that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about with
That's
videotape.
okay. Yeah,
so
maybe
now
I
let's
don't.
move on to something that maybe we will agree with you on.
I loved House of Cards. What do you guys think about that one?
Yeah.
I mean, I love every single song on this record.
But again, like honestly, I couldn't tell you one fucking lyric from this album. I got to be honest with you.
God damn it.
I literally
are you
couldn't.
kidding me?
No, not one. Well, no, I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, like except for like the hooks. Like for me, this music with this album was much more about the music. You know, House of Cards.
The imagery, dude. Like the imagery with his words.
Maybe I have a hard time understanding his voice.
Okay.
I think
It is
I
hard
really
to
did.
understand.
Listen, that if there's one criticism to be made about not just this Radiohead album, but every Radiohead album,
Yeah.
it's that they don't put Tom York so far over the top of the music that it's really easy to discern what
Also,
he's
he
saying.
has kind of a weird like accent to the way he sings. Like sometimes, even like the hook from like "Forget about your house of cards," he's kind of like beating around the words a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I think that maybe that's the problem.
To be British.
I don't think. I
No, I don't
it's
think
an
that's what it
accent
is.
thing.
Yeah.
I do think that when they mix these albums, it reminds me a lot in some ways of Tool, because Tool, I think, intentionally doesn't mix Maynard's voice above the rest of the instrumentation. And even when you look at the writing credits, every single song is given writing credits to every single member of the band. And that I'm going to call bullshit on, because part of what I read was an interview where Johnny Greenwood says most of the time they sit down, it's Tom and a piano, and Tom introduces a song to the rest of the band. And Johnny said a lot of what he does is arrangement. And he says, I try to not fuck up what Tom wants to do. So from that standpoint, the idea that you're giving writing credits to every single member of the band, really?
They're still writing their parts though.
I get it.
They're all contributing. Like maybe Tom has a vocal idea, and then they kind of do the rest.
But if it's him sitting at a piano, that's not a vocal idea,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Like
true.
he's hammering out melodies and stuff. I get what you're saying, right? Because everybody is going to listen to the idea that he has and say, okay, that's cool, right? Like, this is what I think we should do here. This is what I think we should do here. So it does become a collaborative effort. But at the same time, the only thing that I'm trying to express is that at the end of the day, when they put this all together, if they're all coming together and saying, we have created this collectively as a unit, then there's no reason to accent artificially or through production any one member. And perhaps that's why when
They bury his voice, is what you're saying?
Well, and I wouldn't even say that they bury it. They just don't produce it in a way that it's really easy to hear everything that he's saying.
Yeah.
And that's where what I would tell you is read the lyrics as you're listening. Well,
yeah, that's
to the
what
song.
I need to do. And to go back to Justin, I don't think it was anything to do with him being British. To be clear, that's not what I was trying to say about him.
You're clearly the cultural supremacist.
Justin, say it. He's a fucking Anglophobe.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He's a fucking Anglophobe.
He's well documented as hating tea.
Well documented, apparently. Yeah.
I agree 100%.
He poured tea in freaking Great Lake.
Justin. Okay. Yeah, that's not the case. But
okay. So House of Cards.
So House of Cards, I loved. The Reckoner, the House of Cards, and the Reckoner were the two that I gave the most attention to for sure.
How many stars did you give them? 3 each. You didn't give anything more than 3 stars.
It takes a lot for me to go above 3. Like for my system, 3 is like really, really good. 3 is like fantastic for the way I'd kind of think of it.
What'd you give Weird Fishes?
2.
I would give Weird Fishes 4 stars at least.
That's what I wrote down was 2.
Yeah, I gave it 3. How about Nude?
2 as well. I gotta be honest. Every song except for 2 had a star next to it.
Wait, there were some fucking songs you didn't put any stars next to?
I didn't put a star on Faust Arp. It didn't really feel like a Radiohead song to me. Like it was like cool fingerstyle guitar part, but it was just like it seemed like they were trying too hard to do something different. And then Videotape. What do you say, Justin?
I'm not. I'm fast star if that's okay. Like, that's a pretty fringe that song.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Justin. Like that was, I mean, I put a star next to it because I did like the finger picking and everything that they were doing with the guitar.
And I even wrote down a note about that. I said, yeah, it's a really cool fingerstyle guitar part. And I said, this is a lot different for them. It was kind of experimental chord progression. Didn't resonate with me enough to put a star next to it. You hate me for that?
No. Listen, I'm never going to hate you for your opinions.
Good.
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has them and they all stink.
Some people have too.
Jesus, that's fucking dark. But I'm like, honestly, like I'm shocked that you didn't. Man, I'm shocked.
Is it just the videotape thing?
No, I mean, listen, videotape is, yeah, that's mind blowing to me.
Sorry, I'll let you finish. You shocked what?
But even with Weird Fishes,
I gave it 2 stars. That's good. That's praise. Don't you think?
Not nearly enough.
Yeah,
Not
thank
nearly
you.
enough. Man, you guys are.
Did you? I mean, the guitars never once played anything outside of an arpeggio.
Yeah, no, I wrote that actually. I wrote like lots of arpeggio guitar,
Not
really
lots.
good guitar
No,
tone.
dude, no, stop.
All
It's not
arpeggio
lots.
guitar. Okay.
Yeah, the whole how many fucking bands do that, dude? Nobody does that.
Yeah, no, and I actually made a note about that. Where did I write it? Okay, I wrote it on the reckoner. Okay, and just to your point right there, I wrote really cool interval use, and I wrote, I feel like I don't hear a lot of rock bands play many of these intervallic guitar parts, meaning the arpeggio based stuff. And I said it's really cool to hear that in rock music, which you don't hear a lot. So, and I appreciate it
a lot.
I like this. Like, don't think I don't. What you guys? I feel like you guys think I hate it because I didn't like videotape that much. I love this. Like, don't get me wrong. Almost every song has a star except for 2. Like I said,
Okay. Okay, so let's start, Justin. I want to start with you on this.
Yeah.
Considering where you're at personally with this album, Rolling Stone put it at fucking 387. Not I don't want to know where it fits in your personal list. What I want from you is your objective placement of this on the greatest 500 albums of all time. Where do you put it? Objectively.
I put it between 50 and 100. And I think that the objective, it's so hard to be objective. I mean, this list isn't objective. But so like my reasoning would just be that like there has never been an alternative rock album. It honestly, there's probably more Radiohead records on this, and they all deserve to be in the top 100 because anything that's determined to be alternative rock has Radiohead to thank or inspired Radiohead to do something above and beyond and greater than what came before. And this record in particular is just, it's everything is perfect. The artwork is perfect. The track listing, every single song is perfect. It's damn near a concept album without even attempting to make a concept album. And there's just this lyrical poetry in some of the songs that also seems effortless. Like they don't even have to hardly try, and these guys can kick out like some of the greatest songs that I've ever heard. And I don't want to be too subjective, but this deserves to be in the top 100 because of its influence on alternative rock, and probably more importantly and more recently, its influence on sampling and experimental and electronic music.
Better concept-wise than OK Computer?
Concept-wise versus OK Computer, that's a really tough question.
Yeah, I know. That's why I asked it. Because that's it.
Justin.
Really?
Yeah.
You're on Team Justin in terms of concept. OK Computer is less of a concept album than In Rainbows?
No, I agree with Justin that this should be between 50 and 100, and it's
Wow.
probably like I was telling Mike earlier.
That's high.
I know.
I was telling Mike earlier that I thought that earlier Radiohead, Pablo Honey, Creep was my favorite, but like I would say that Radiohead is really unique in the way that they evolved as a band, and this is definitely like the culmination of that evolution.
Yeah.
And I know where Kid A is on the list, and it's high. And I think it's that high because it's sort of like their turning point of Radiohead. And I think that like the culmination of their evolution should be at least as high as that turning point.
I appreciate that.
I like that opinion too.
The other side of that though is like it goes back to the content versus impact argument that I've made a lot. And the content, I feel like the argument here is that the content is better than in your guys' opinion, Justin and Riley meaning, better than OK Computer and Kid A. But you'd be hard pressed to argue that those were more impactful in the musical, field than OK Computer or Kid A, which I would argue are far more impactful in the long run in terms of like the timing of release, and like the bands that they went forth and impacted and in the music that they maybe inspired, So for me, I would probably drop this down a little bit. I think it belongs on the list, but I'd probably drop it down a little bit because I'm pretty fucking sure that OK Computer and Kid A are on there. And I think that those were hugely influential albums.
Shame. Shame.
What'd you say, Justin?
I want JB to strip down at this point in time and just fucking walk through his own dining room butt ass naked so that way we can like pelt fucking tomatoes at you.
I'll probably do that in the morning to tell you the truth, but
shame. Yeah. Game of Thrones style. Okay. This is what we're having. We're having a chicken or an egg argument. And what I mean by that is you can't have this album without Kid A. And I might almost argue that you can't have this album without OK Computer.
And my argument was you can't have a lot of other albums maybe without those.
Without a doubt.
For sure.
All of that being said, what came first? The chicken or the egg? Does that make sense? And especially when you talk about placement of this relative to OK Computer and Kid A.
So by your shame thing, you disagree. You think this should be higher.
Yeah. I'm gonna move this up, but I'm not gonna move this ahead. I'm definitely not gonna move this ahead of Kid A because you don't get this album without them doing
so you think that
the experiments that they did on Kid A with all of just the deep electronica. If they never go down that like insanely electronica route, then this never happens.
Yeah.
So for me, Kid A becomes more impactful, not just for alternative music as a genre, but it becomes ridiculously impactful for them because if they don't go down that, if they don't go down that fork in the road and play all of the games that they play on Kid A, then they never combine what they did on Kid A with the bends with OK Computer to beget in Rainbows.
Sure.
But all of that being said, there's no way that in my mind that this album deserves to be below 200, probably.
I agree with that.
So you think that all three of those belong above 200?
Yeah.
That seems crazy.
I'm sure that it does. But you've also listened, you literally admitted within the last 20 minutes that you've listened to Kid A twice and that you've listened to OK Computer 4 times.
That seems like a lot of times. Is it not?
No. How many times have you fucking listened? How many times have you listened to a live one?
It's still, I mean, it seems like
no.
times.
No, how many times have you listened to a live one?
I don't know.
I've listened to a live one more than 4 times. So
more than 4 times for sure, undoubtedly. But
right?
It just seems, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
All three of those belong above 200, though.
I'm telling you this. Radiohead. Yeah. Radiohead in particular is a band that if you don't invest the time, you will have no appreciation.
And that again, like I said before, that's the stuff I like the most. And I'm not disagreeing with what I'm about to say at all. But your argument is clearly that Radiohead is one of the greatest bands of all time. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. Okay. And like I said, I'm not disagreeing.
Why do you love the Beatles as much as you do? Is it because they found a box and they stayed within that box and they made it the greatest box of all time? Or
No,
was it because
not at all? Yeah.
or was it because they recorded an album and then they said, well, that was fun. What the fuck else is out in this world? And by the time that they recorded the next album, everybody was like, what the fuck is this? Where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
And they had made an entirely new box. And then instead of making that box the greatest box that they ever could, the next fucking thing that they released is an entirely new box.
Yeah.
And that is largely what Radiohead did throughout their entire career. And this is just again, it's a chicken or an egg argument.
Yeah.
And I would argue that you can't have this record without their previous records, which is the only reason why I'm giving the earlier records a leg up. But there's not vast oceans between them.
Computer and Kid A are only better because you couldn't have In Rainbows without them. Otherwise, content-wise, you would put In Rainbows above those.
I would say that the other ones had way more influence, but yes.
That was my thing. That's what I was saying, is like the others definitely had way more influence.
Yeah. And if you're creating an in theory objective list of the greatest 500 albums of all time, you have to not only look at what the material is, but you also have to consider the influence of the material and what did it do for music, beyond that.
Yeah, I agree.
Justin?
Yeah, sorry, we cut you off, Justin, a couple times.
But where do you draw the line? Because this record is an example of records that were inspired by records that came before by Radiohead, like this record was in part inspired by Kid A and OK Computer. And I feel like this is for all the other artists out there that were inspired by those records, this is hey, if you were really inspired by those records, check this shit out, because here is the culmination of all of that in an extremely remarkably well refined and well produced format. Check this out.
Yeah, no, but and for better. Sorry, go ahead.
They released Rainbows Disc 2, which came way later. Dude, seriously, that record is better than some of the stuff you guys have talked about on this list before this point.
Wow. Disc 2? The outtakes one? Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to check out Disc 2 of that for sure. Did you check that out at all, Mike?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I haven't done Disc 2, and I'm at peace with that. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm at peace with that, and it's not to say that I won't dig into it. But by that same token, I haven't listened to OK Not OK, which is the big fucking anniversary release that they did for OK Computer.
Yeah.
I haven't gone back and listened to any of that, which has a bunch of unreleased material from the OK Computer sessions. And, part of that's just time. Part of that's fucking us doing this podcast and me having to listen
to all kinds of music.
Yeah, it is so much music every week. There's only so much that, there's only so much that you
can
do,
but
I'll do it.
For me, this kind of started out as me saying that I liked this better than the other ones, and I feel like this started into a thing where you guys were hanging me on the fucking cross for not loving this. And you know what? I liked it. Like I said, for me, this is what I want to hear from Radiohead, more so than what I heard of the others. But I think that from a pure style or from a pure standpoint of the musical climate when these albums were released, OK Computer and Kid A should probably be higher on the greatest albums of all time list, just because of the fact that what the musical climate was at the time, they held much more influence.
I agree, but I think it should be closer.
Yeah.
And I respect that. Yeah.
And that's my argument with putting it because 200.
Kid A is high. I don't want to spoil it, but it's high.
So obviously it's higher than OK Computer, which was not what I expected. I expected OK Computer to be higher. And you said earlier Kid A was higher. So Mike is right. I'm glad we didn't make another bet on that. I'm pretty sure I've lost every fucking bet.
Let's read Rex. Let's get Rex involved
Yeah.
because otherwise this is going to be like the 8-hour podcast where 7 hours of it is fucking us talking
Yeah.
about In Rainbow.
So Rex says, this album, really? Rolling Stone? Okay. Body Snatchers, Weird Fish, Arpeggi is just the classic Radiohead sound. I wouldn't even put this album on the list. Yes, it's a good album, but there are better albums that deserve this spot. Interesting.
Oh boy.
Oh, Justin and Rex do not get along.
No, the funniest part about this is like as we've been going, like Rex has been texting me, and he actually really wants to meet Justin.
What did he say?
Well, that's what he started off with. He's like, man, I really want to meet Justin. He seems like a great guy. And I said, yeah, he's a really, really good dude.
He's all right.
And then from there, I wouldn't say that it dissolves, but Rex is on Team the Bends. Like to him, that is the classic Radiohead album. And I can't disagree with that, but that to me is why Radiohead's not the Beatles, and Radiohead's not the Beatles because nobody are the Beatles except for the Beatles. But going back to that idea of if you make a box and just live in that box, you can be a really great band. But to me, the difference between a great band and just an all-time fucking classic band are the bands that say, well, this was fun, but what else is out there?
Yeah.
And you push those boundaries. That's what the Dead did. They just did it live improvisationally.
Yeah.
That's what Fish does. They just largely do it live improvisationally. The Beatles did it in the studio.
I agree with everything you're saying.
Radiohead is doing it in the studio. And, you know, it's.
And again, I think maybe it goes back to, first of all, I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, maybe it goes back to, I haven't cracked that egg yet.
Yeah.
And like, cause like, again, I've listened to Radiohead a lot more than I would listen to most bands. Like most albums, I'm not going to listen to 4 times in a row or 4 times through. That's just true. Most albums, I'm going to have like a good picture of what I think of it by probably the 2nd or 3rd time through. Certainly by the 4th, you know, maybe Radiohead is just a band that I need to do more with.
Yeah.
And I haven't got there yet. So
it took a long time for the egg to crack for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did. Like, I don't think that Radiohead is a band that anybody, I genuinely, like, I honestly, I don't think that they have an album that somebody can listen to on the first pass and say, oh my God, this is one of my favorite albums of all time. And
Yeah.
I think I'm the.
Are you the exception, Justin? Is that what you were saying?
So yeah, this is what I would suggest. So I think I'm in the unique use case of like, I listen to In Rainbows front to back. So, okay, this is slightly embarrassing, but I'm not ashamed because I'm a better person for it. I bought this record because it looked cool. Great artwork. You know, like I was listening to classic rock, and I bought this record because it had great artwork. And then my freshman year of college, we finally listened to it, and we just, you know, we smoked a joint and we listened to it front to back. And then I worked my way backwards from there. Instead of, you know, building up to it. And so like I kind of learned the history of Radiohead going backwards and then worked my way backwards and then from the beginning up to where In Rainbows was. And then, you know, they had whatever the album was that came after that was trash that no one should ever talk about. But you know, I experienced Radiohead, I think, in a very different way.
Wait a minute.
And
I think, what was that album, Justin?
Come on.
I think that's a good point though, Justin. Like everyone, like where your entry point to Radiohead is like matters a lot because like Radiohead changed so much through their career that like everyone's gonna have their favorite Radiohead record and everyone's gonna be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the King of Limbs.
Is that what you're talking about, Justin?
Yeah.
The King of Limbs?
The King of Limbs was the trash that Justin was referring to, which I'm kind of okay with that. I was worried that Hail to the Thief was
That was before In Rainbows.
yeah, and Hail to the Thief came out in 2003, and Hail to the Thief I don't think is on this list, which makes me very, very sad because one of my favorite Radiohead songs ever is There. Oh, fuck me, dude. That song smashes shit to pieces. And that is such a political album. That album, and that's the other thing about In Rainbows that I thought was really, really cool, was they acknowledged the fact that on Hail to the Thief was just so embedded with political strife and political commentary. It was really a response to the George W. Bush presidency.
In Rainbows really wasn't at all.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It was political. But no, it was completely apolitical. But that's I think that's some of the hidden beauty that Justin is speaking to, Riley, that you're speaking to, that I find in this record too, is that you don't have these potentially polarizing concepts. It's a much bigger return to humanity and like humanitarian concepts that I think become so much more universal if you're willing to, I don't know, read some lyrics.
It's definitely much more personal.
Wow, that would seem targeted.
I mean, it wasn't targeted at all, even though I was looking right at you.
You do have to read the lyrics for this record though, because you can't.
You know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do this one again, and I'm gonna read the lyrics because you guys obviously all feel the same way. So clearly, it's my issue, and I'm not being sarcastic. It must be I'm missing something, and I'm gonna listen to it again, and I'm gonna read the lyrics, and that's that.
But I hope you do, because then you will be welcome in my house.
It's cold-blooded, Justin.
That's funny, Justin. All right. Well, speaking of that, Justin, I was talking to you last night, and I'd asked about Jay Dilla to you, and he's told me that Jay Dilla is the greatest of all time. So, if you want, you might as well stick around for Jay Dilla.
Do you want to stick around, Justin?
You know me, I love donuts.
All right, let's move on.
I'll be right back in while you guys.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So 386. We've been talking about Radiohead for 54 minutes at this point. So we should probably. This is going to be our longest episode of all time.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we're well over 2 hours at this point.
Wow.
Which is okay.
We're really sorry, people.
No. Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around, though.
Yeah, we appreciate you listening. We've had a couple people that have been tuned in on YouTube this entire time. So that's awesome. Yeah. Coming in, the last album of tonight, 386, is Jay Dilla, Donuts, from 2006. Questlove of the Roots called the Detroit producer the music god that music gods and music experts and music lovers worship. During the 90s and early 2000s, Dilla worked with a who's who of hip-hop greats and helped shape the sound of albums like D'Angelo's Voodoo, C Number 28, spoiler,
God
Holy
damn, you
shit,
Rolling
dude.
Stone, you motherfuckers.
28. Holy fuck,
God
dude.
Damn.
I feel like that's high for D'Angelo.
And that's a great fucking record, but woo.
But 28?
Jeez.
Released 3 days before his death.
Where the fuck is Brown Sugar, right?
It's got to be between 100 and 200 then, right?
Or maybe between 50 and 100.
That would be amazing if he had two albums in the top.
I wouldn't be
100.
surprised, though.
28. Holy fuck.
Jesus. I know. All right.
That blows my mind. Okay.
So sorry, everyone.
Released 3 days before his death, Donuts is a beathead's delight. 31 concise, wildly inventive sample swirls. Love the Frank Zappa bit on MASH, many of which would end up being sampled themselves in the years that followed.
Justin, what do you think?
So I think the greatness of Jay Dilla, especially because I feel like there's not a lot of appreciation for producers, just generally, like when producers produce beats for rappers, like they're kind of their name is not the one you hear. You hear the rapper's name, you don't hear the producer's name all the time. And when a producer releases an album just purely of beats with no raps on top, like, that might get buried, and that's hard to find. And so I think that the best way to judge a producer like Jay Dilla is based on who samples their stuff, what stuff do they sample that kind of embodies their taste. And that's why Jay Dilla is like so clearly in the upper echelon of producers and absolutely deserves this ranking, and frankly should probably be higher.
Yeah.
Because he's been sampled. Like, people have rapped over his stuff that are in the upper echelon of hip hop, like, for sure, Erykah Badu, Common, Slum Village, D'Angelo. I mean,
yeah.
Fucking Kanye.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Kanye fucking straight up stole
Kanye was
Stop.
Yeah.
Which is like the fourth track. Like, I think it's the fourth or fifth track on this disc. And as soon as that track came on, I was literally like, I was waiting to hear the rest of my dark twisted fantasy. You know what I mean?
Kanye was undoubtedly, this is probably Kanye's biggest influence, maybe. Like, based on what I was reading, like Jay Dilla was a huge influence on Kanye. And yeah, I totally agree with what Justin was saying. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know where I put this. And quite frankly, this is a record that's tough to like sit and take notes on, because it just plays like a 43-minute track.
Yeah.
know,
like a mixtape, like you said last week.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the most beautifully well done mixtape of all time. And the only thing that's missing is, I don't know, like the next big thing rapper over the top of it. But quite frankly, I don't want
it's not missing that at all.
Yeah. Because I don't want it.
Yeah. And this is almost like, I haven't listened to this genre a whole lot. Like, have you? Like instrumental hip hop?
I wouldn't, I mean, I don't know. I guess that depends on what a lot is, because I'm a huge fan. The last 2 or 3 years of Record Store Days, some of the things that they've dropped is just the instrumental version of stuff. And Run the Jewels has done a really magnificent job of, every time they've released an album, they've done special releases where they'll give you 2 platters of the album, and then they'll give you another 2 platters where they've stripped the vocals away. So all you get is LP's beats. And that shit, listen, I fucking love it, dude. And I do
too. And
I listen to it just as much as I listen to like the actual recordings with the raps.
I don't want to say I wasn't aware of this genre, but I feel like it wasn't as much in my like view as a lot of other hip hop music was. And that was to my fault, because this is incredible. And we're going to get more into this record for sure. But this got me like researching a lot of like instrumental hip hop, and I started listening to like DJ Shadow. You familiar with
fucking
him?
Shadow's dope,
and like
dude.
Introducing, which was one of his, like, that's one of the records that kind of started the wave of instrumental hip hop music. And
did you dig into DJ Octagon?
Not at all, but I listened to Introducing by DJ Shadow for sure. Like, are you familiar with that record?
Yeah,
it's super good. But yeah, like Justin said, like this stuff kind of fades into the background a little bit. And I think a lot of it is actually because of copyright issues, because of all the sampling. I was reading about it. Like, it causes a lot of problems in terms of release. Like, people, they have a hard time releasing
in terms
these.
of commercial release.
Yeah, because of all the sampling. Like, the copyright issues create a lot of problems in terms of mass commercialization of this kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I could too, but at the same time, I think about what Girl Talk, right? Like, I mean, fucking Girl Talk has made his entire career off not just taking beats, right? But like, Girl Talk is taking entire songs, layering them on top of entire songs, and just making giant records with nothing but all of these fucking mashups, and all these things mashed up together.
Depends on whose song
you
are sampling.
Headline 8035.
Say that again, Justin.
Do you remember that year that Girl Talk headlined 8035?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
and I do. I don't. I didn't go,
dude,
on purpose.
Really? Why not?
I don't want to be too negative, but I take issue with what Girl Talk does.
Just because he's making music out of music that's not his.
Yeah, so like, I think with producers like Jay Dilla, like, there is a degree of invention on top of the sampling because it's the creativity to combine those different pieces. But with Girl Talk, it just seems like, I don't know, it seems like the creativity is dialed down rather substantially, and it seems like they don't deserve any credit for that work.
I can sort of agree
To
with
me.
that. I wouldn't say they don't deserve any credit, but like Jay Dilla like totally flips these songs on their heads, and Girl Talk just kind of like changes it a little bit. It's not as drastic.
I get it. And I think that your viewpoints are valid, but I also genuinely believe, and I would hope that you guys would agree with me, that the only difference largely between what Girl Talk is doing and what Jay Dilla is doing is Jay Dilla is mostly doing it with instrumental tracks. In other words, he's mashing up instrumentals only, or a purely instrumental track with something with sparse lyrics, whereas what Girl Talk is doing is he's mashing up largely instrumental single tracks with full tracks on top of it. In other words, meaning you're getting two songs mashed up together, one of which is containing full lyrics and basically the full song without some of the backing instrumentation. Whereas what Jay Dilla is doing is basically taking multiple cuts of pure instrumentation and making a song out of that. Is that a fair statement?
Well, what Girl
So-
Talk does is mashups, right? And like when
What's
I think
Jay
of,
Dilla doing?
I don't think of it as mashup. I think
Yeah.
of it as he's like,
Because it's instrumentation, right?
I would say he takes,
But I think it's more like-
he doesn't mash it together. He creates like a totally different thing. Out
Yeah,
of the pieces.
it's like he takes
By taking
parts
disparate
of a,
parts.
he takes parts of a whole and makes a whole new thing. Whereas I think of Girl Talk, I think more of like, it's fun to see live. He's just mashing shit up though. It's just like, and like he like
But wait a minute. Time out. I want to be really clear with what you guys are saying. What you're saying is that Jay Dilla is taking stuff that has been previously recorded and putting it together in a way that makes something wholly new. And Girl Talk is taking stuff that's previously recorded and just putting it together.
and maybe not making it
yeah.
in a way that's wholly new.
Because every other time that you've heard War Pigs, it's almost always sounded as though Ludacris is right there with you.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's fair.
But I
You
hear War
motherfuckers.
Pigs when I hear that. And when I hear Jay Dilla, I don't hear like any of the songs that he's sampling. I just hear Jay Dilla.
Yeah, it's unfair to talk against Mike's point while he's gone. So we won't do that. But we'll certainly do it when he gets back. Okay. But sorry, Justin, what were you gonna say?
No, I think Mike made a good point. Okay, I certainly disagree, but like I think that's an important distinction that deserves argument. Like, you know, I think that it's important to be able to distinguish Jay Dilla from the likes of the swill that is Girl Talk. But
I'm gonna quote that.
I would gladly redact all of my commentary about Girl Talk if it meant we spent less time talking about Girl Talk in the same, like, I don't know, several stanzas as Jay Dilla, because that's a criminal act.
I agree.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we should even hold off on that till Mike gets back, because Mike's got to hear what you're saying about that.
Justin, when would you like to lose to me at Guitar Hero? I can do that
Yeah, let's talk
anytime.
about that. Let's talk about the Guitar Hero competition that is imminently going down here.
Was this the matchup?
What are you on right now? Are
This is
you
it.
on like PS? What is it, like 7 or something right now?
Yeah, I don't know, but we'd have to play on Guitar Hero 3 for the Xbox 360, which would be a
shit.
problem because it's hard to find like controllers for that.
I got it. I got the controllers. Anyways, while you're gone, Mike,
Dude,
Justin talked about comparing Jay Dilla to, I quote, the swill that is Girl Talk.
I want to be super clear with everybody. Girl Talk is going to have 0 albums on this list because he doesn't deserve to have any albums on this list. But the idea that what he is doing versus what Jay Dilla is doing is wholly and separately apart from each other is just that's fine.
Well, it's concept.
It's fine in the same way that QAnon is totally real. Like it's just fucking
fine.
fanciful.
That is not fine.
That's a crazy comparison, Mike. I think
No,
it's
it's
crazy
not.
that you just said that.
It's
No,
fanciful.
I kind of agree with Mike's point though. Like it's a spectrum.
No, it's a spectrum, and QAnon is over here, and the comparison of fucking
Yes, I mean,
Jay Dilla versus Girl Talk is
all the
over
way
here.
over here in crazy QAnon land, and Jay Dilla is over here in like normal okay land.
But it's still 2 ends of a spectrum.
Just because the concept is somewhat similar doesn't mean that the result.
What do you mean by somewhat similar?
It's really not. I mean, like first of all, Jay Dilla is putting his own beats over a lot of this.
I mean, Jay Dilla put absolutely everything he had into that record.
That's definitely a point, but
Yeah, how many Grammy Award winners have sampled Girl Talk?
But you know what I mean? Like Jay Dilla, first of all, that's one point. Jay Dilla put a lot of his own beats over. Like these are all his own beats. Girl Talk doesn't really do that. Am I wrong? He just kind of mashes songs up. So there's that. Like Jay Dilla's really, he's taking parts of other songs and he's making a new song.
Yes.
Like Girl Talk is not doing that. He's taking songs and he's putting them together. And just like I said, similar concept. It's not the same concept though. Like I'll argue with that. It's not the same concept.
I mean,
You literally
you
just said it's a similar concept.
Similar, but not the
it's
same. The similar is different than the same.
Yeah. And we're in total agreement. All I'm saying is that if 2 things are similar, then they would fall on a spectrum. Right?
On a spectrum for sure. Yeah. And so I'm not going to disagree with that. But
No. That is not true.
Okay. All right. Justin, you go ahead, dude.
That is not necessarily the same spectrum. For instance, like light and heat are 2 separate spectrums, however, they are related to one another.
Ooh. I like you, Justin. Keep going.
That's my whole fucking point. I'm just saying, like just because 2 things are related does not mean that they are on the same spectrum as one another.
You put that a lot better than I did. Yeah.
That's fair. And again, and listen, I'm not saying that Girl Talk deserves to be on this list. I'm saying that Jay Dilla does. Right?
Well, then what are you saying about Girl Talk? Don't be mad.
What they do is similar for sure, but Jay Dilla is definitely way more creative in the way that he does it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is like, while I said similar, but not the same. You know, like Jay Dilla is really making new songs. Girl Talk is really just doing more of like in my opinion, and I could be totally wrong. I've seen Girl Talk live, but I haven't like listened to a lot of his stuff that he puts out. It's just kind of like putting songs together for the fun of like dancing to it. Like, but he's not really like making that art, in my opinion. Like Jay Dilla is really making original art. You disagree with me?
Yeah, but that's okay. And I'm more than comfortable with everybody listening to this, including the 3 of you, saying that I'm comparing apples to oranges. I'm totally comfortable with that.
You're comparing apples to oranges.
I'm comparing what?
What'd you say, Justin?
So I think you're comparing assholes to oranges.
Assholes to oranges.
Listen, that's fair. I like assholes. I need shit to leave my body. And the only way shit can leave my body is through my asshole.
Yeah.
So I like assholes. And I like oranges too. That's all I'm saying.
The only way oranges can leave your body is via assholes.
Assholes.
Holy shit. We just drew a comparison there. You know what? We've come to terms, I think.
I'm not really sure like what that means. Like
I know. I would move this up.
I would agree.
I'd move this up probably closer to 300 in my mind.
Yeah, I think we could all agree on that.
Dude, just for the sheer effort that he put into that album.
Dude, seriously, like you've mentioned that one or two times. We should talk about that. Like Jay Dilla is kind of a sad story.
Yeah.
He had a rare blood disorder, passed away at the age of 32.
He had lupus.
This album was released 3 days after he died, and he was feverishly working on this record in the hospital as he was dying.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a couple things, like his mother was right there by his side to the end, which is awesome. And his mother would wake up in the middle of the night, and he would ask his mom to move him over to his workstation, and he would work on it in the middle of the night. And at times his hands were too sore to work, and his mother would massage his fingers so that he could get to the point that he was comfortable enough to work. Just reading that, just like I was almost like tearing up reading that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. One for Ghost, MASH with that fucking Zappa sample is so fucking good.
Piano was cool. On
Obviously, I've already mentioned Stop because every time I hear Stop, it's
Lightworks. Lightworks stuck out to me. The name of the game is Lightworks. I love that shit.
Yeah, there was or was Bendix right after that? Bendix, the company of the future.
That was Lightworks.
Oh, that was
Lightworks.
Okay, that was the beginning of it. Okay, yeah, spectacular. I loved working on it. Fucking working on it was really, really good. The fucking
and walking on it.
And working on it, I loved the beat on it though. Like I loved the beat, and I loved that guitar. Like that guitar.
That was like a chromatic guitar line that they put in there. The Factory was another favorite of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So the Factory was like, I gotta say, like when it comes to Jay Dilla, the thing that sticks out to me the most is the drums, because he makes a lot of those beats. I think, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
I don't know. Because if you're wrong, then it's just a fucking mashup.
No, I don't think you are.
I don't think I'm wrong.
I don't think you're
all.
wrong either.
I think that he's making a lot of these beats, and he has this like this weird sense of building beats where he puts them super slacky, like kind of like a little bit behind the beat. And I've heard a lot of this kind of stuff. There's been a couple albums on this list so far where I've mentioned this concept, but Jay Dilla really masters it. Like this slightly behind the beat kind of hip hop like drum sound. And it's just so good. And maybe the best example of that is on The Factory, in my opinion. It's like a cyclical synth line, and it just feels like just goes round and round, and it has that drums. So listen to The Factory if you want to hear what I'm talking about with those slacky drums.
Where is that?
That's track 26.
All right, thank you.
That's a good one. My favorite was MASH when like he hits the high piano notes and the key like rattles. I don't know why, but that really gets me.
Yep.
Yeah. I fucking loved MASH. I mean, really, really loved MASH. I loved Last Donut of the Night, which is almost at the tail end of the record. Man, it's just the beat that he creates there, which again, I'm on your guys' team. Right? Like I know that we spent probably 30 minutes.
I feel like you're the guy that I was during the Radiohead.
I mean, possibly
one. You know what I mean?
I mean, possibly. I don't know. I don't think you ever came around to the idea that In Rainbows should be like way higher than what it is.
No, but I was saying that I liked it more than the other ones.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah, I don't know. 300 probably. 300 plus or minus 10 or 20.
I agree with that. 300. Honestly, like I say that, but if you were like, "Hey, this belongs to 200," I'd be like, "Yeah, cool." Like literally, like I don't have a problem with that either. So
anywhere really,
but I don't feel super strongly that it should that I'd be upset if it was 300 either. So
yeah,
it belongs on the list for sure.
Undoubtedly, yeah.
Justin, where do you put it?
So I'm just going to guess this is probably the only album on the entire list that is purely sampled by an epic producer.
I don't know, bro.
And so,
Girl Talk could be on here.
God damn it.
I'm so sorry.
Dude, But
Justin, we're gonna have you back.
I think-
We're gonna have you back,
Like,
Justin, for the Girl Talk Snub episode, which we certainly will not be fucking doing. Let's be clear.
five different Girl Talk albums. Oh my God. Okay, but no, seriously, because I think that this is probably the only hip hop sample album on here. Like, I think it's underrated. I think it should be top 100 because there's so much hip hop that wouldn't
Top
exist.
100.
I can't get down.
And
with
like, and you're gonna see a ton of hip hop records and rap albums that are in the top 100 that are all thanks in large part to producers that either are Jay Dilla or owe a lot of thanks to Jay Dilla for breaking ground for them to do what they do.
How much of that is recency bias, though? Like, I would argue that Kanye should definitely not have as many albums as he has on this list.
I agree with that.
Dude, that recency bias is actually kind of important, I think, because otherwise you're just going to end up with a bunch of I think this is probably why they did the new list. Is otherwise your top 100 is just a bunch of fucking Led Zeppelin albums and Beatles albums.
Which maybe that's what the top 500 albums of all time
if
is.
those are the best 500 albums, then that's what it should be.
And that goes, yeah, that's what I think it should be, the top 500 or the top 500. But it kind of goes back to what Mike was saying earlier about the chicken and the egg argument. And I'm not asserting an opinion here whatsoever. But if Jay Dilla was that influential, maybe there is some stuff that was highly influenced by Jay Dilla that is higher on the list. And that goes back to the argument of just because Jay Dilla influenced it, does he belong higher? I'm not saying either way, but that's kind of the question,
Yeah.
But I think what bugs me is that Jay Dilla's influence in his production is probably most exhibited in the Soulquarians and the acts associated with the Soulquarians. And I don't know. I could look this up, and I'm refraining right now, but I'm just worried that the rest of the list is going to underrepresent albums by the Soulquarians and the artists associated with that collective, whether it be the Roots or, Nas and Erykah Badu. And
I don't think you're going to be disappointed in that, Justin. I really don't. We've already seen one Roots album, and I don't think that that's going to be the only. I love Things Fall Apart. It's definitely one of my favorite albums from the Roots, but I can hardly believe that that's going to be the only entry from the Roots on this record. And quite frankly, if Nas isn't in the top 100, I would be shocked if Illmatic is not in the top 100. I'd be fucking shocked.
I would be pretty shocked too.
But that's what I'm getting at is if the inspiration and the production that inspired so many of these artists, and I forgot to mention Common, how could that? I feel like that deserves a more notable mention.
I get it, and we've had this conversation, and we're going to continue to have this conversation of just about what's more important. Is the inspiration more important? Or if the inspiration created something so much better, who should we celebrate more, right? Should we celebrate what the inspiration beget, or should we celebrate the inspiration? And I think that it's a worthwhile argument to be had on both sides. And if you're on the team of the inspiration matters more because it was the inspiration, I think that's fair. I think that you can defend that. I think it's highly defendable. For me, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. And I love this record. I fucking own this on vinyl. And we haven't even...
Do you really?
Yeah. I feel so lucky because I found this in Waterloo Records.
Damn.
The last time I was in Austin. And when I saw it, I was like, holy fuck.
The most recent time you were down there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
And I've already spun it 4 or 5 times. It's fucking spectacular. I was so happy to find this on vinyl.
Let it be known, I'm jealous.
Yeah. And you should be, because this is a fucking great album. It's a spectacular album.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth owning.
So I did add it to digital because I just didn't already. And like I said, like this kind of opened up a world for me of the instrumental hip hop genre that, like, I don't want to say I wasn't aware of it, because I was kind of marginally aware of it, but I really dig it. Like I loved this record, and it few records on this list have got me going down a rabbit hole of new genres.
Yeah.
Like maybe new artists, but not necessarily new genres. And I was really like, I was reading all about instrumental hip hop and all the kind of sampling artists. And I was listening to DJ Shadow last night and other artists. And yeah, I loved this. And I'll find it on vinyl just as soon as I can. I might even order it off Discogs or something.
Are you familiar with Bad Bad Not Good?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, realistically, like if what you're saying is that I've never really been exposed to instrumental hip hop, fuck, dude. I mean, honestly, like let's talk Bad Bad Not Good. And why does Bad Bad? Because I guarantee you there is no fucking representation on this list anywhere of Bad Bad Not Good. And Bad Bad Not Good are legit, serious, fucking trained studio jazz musicians that love hip hop so much that they recreate hip hop beats with a drum, a bass, a guitar.
Yeah, and that was stuff that was popular like when I was in college, you know. So like I was definitely like into that stuff a little bit. Yeah. But maybe it's just like this earlier wave of it that I wasn't like super aware of.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
I love it though. And like
what,
Justin? Say it again. Start over. We couldn't hear you.
The Alchemist is probably featured on this list.
You think so? I don't think so. I'd be shocked.
Not like a solo, not as a solo album, but I would guarantee you that some of the rappers that use his beats are on this list.
Like, you think Freddie Gibbs is going to be on here?
No. Dude, he did beats for Mobb Deep, dude. Like he's on this list.
Okay, you're right. Because there's no fucking way, and I've made this argument, and I think that it's coming up because I've been cheating ahead maybe like 10 or 15, and I'm pretty sure we're within 20 of coming upon the infamous Mobb Deep, which is fucking hands down one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time.
Not familiar.
Spectacular.
Literally.
So Justin, are you like, did the Alchemist do any production on the infamous Mobb Deep?
You know, I don't know I know he produced for them. I don't know if he did any tracks on that album.
Yeah. I don't know either, but now that you mentioned that, because I didn't even know that the Alchemists work with Mobb Deep, but now that you mention it, like that's something I'm going to dig into when we get to the infamous Mobb Deep, because that fucking album,
that's coming up.
Yeah.
Dude, I've never even listened to the Mobb Deep.
Mobb Deep is spectacular, and that album in particular, man, I got exposed to that album in probably so it's 369. We're not even that far away from it. So
cool.
It came out in 95. I got introduced to it when I was in the Marine Corps. And god damn, like if you've never heard that album, I'm super excited for you.
Sweet.
It's a fucking jam, dude.
Sounds good.
Okay. Alchemist is on 3 tracks.
3 tracks on that
on
album.
The infamous. Awesome.
Okay. Cool.
And it doesn't surprise me because that record top 2 finish is, man, it's fucking spectacular. Really good. And we're only a few weeks away from it, which is really exciting.
Well, should we go ahead and preview next week?
Yeah, I think we should. Next week is going to be the Quad Pod.
The Quad Pod, the Quadcast. What do we christen it? You guys decide. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, tell us what you think. I hate to say this. It's probably going to be, it's probably going to end up being as long as this one.
This is our longest episode thus far.
Yeah, and it's
right now we're
close.
sitting at about 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Jesus, I'm so sorry, everybody. Like this is
That's
so
okay.
long.
It's okay. Yeah.
But listen, if you stuck with us this far, thank you. Next week, we're going to have Sean Smith and Lee Stamper. And Lee Stamper is going to be in person this time.
Of onlylee.com. And he's going to be doing a video shoot for his website.
Afterwards, supposedly.
That will be streamed live, so prepare for that. Put the kids to bed. You don't want, yeah.
Put the kids to bed. Yeah. Put the kids to bed, everybody. It's gonna get dicey. So anyway, next week, the 5 albums that we're going to be going over. At number 385 from 1977, the Ramones album "Rocket to Russia."
384 is the Kinks. The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society. Wow.
383, the album "Mezzanine" by Massive Attack.
382 is Tame Impala, Currents.
Holla. Super excited about that. And then the last album that we'll be talking about next week from 1973, Leonard Skinner's, I believe their debut album, pronounced Leonard Skinnerd.
Cool.
So thanks so much for sticking around. I mean, goddamn, this was a long episode. I mean, yeah, it's a really long episode.
And I gotta say, our fucking 2 YouTube watchers still on there. So thank you guys.
Powerful.
Thank you guys. Yeah,
Powerful
that's
representation.
Awesome. Yeah.
Powerful representation.
Thank you for Riley for joining us.
Yeah, fuck, man. I mean, you hung through this whole thing, and Jesus, Justin, it's fucking it's 1:30 in the morning for you? Man, you're a champ.
It's Brooklyn. We talk about music until the wee hours of the morning.
Brooklyn represent.
But we are going to be doing a bonus episode here in a little bit. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be back with the short one. It's not going to be too long.
No.
Riley's going to be joining for that as well.
Mhm.
So, sorry,
Stick
Riley.
around.
You have to stick around.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a little bit.
And on that bonus show, we're going to be talking about Future Sex Love Sounds by Justin Timberlake.
Indeed. So,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
We'll see you next time. Justin, thank you. Riley, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.